Well, let people kind of trickle in, see how people come through. Kind of a random live stream. Apologize for yesterday. I was supposed to do one. Some things came up. Had to do first aid. Done a bunch of stuff for my Coast Guard license. But man, hockey has been pretty interesting. This is my good friend, Chief. How you doing, Chief?
Doing good, brother. Yourself?
I can't complain, my friend. And he's a passionate hockey fan like myself. We actually had a podcast at one point. He's going to be frequently on this show as well. He's a very passionate hockey fan. He's a big Colorado Avalanche fan. And
Oh, sorry.
mid game, so we apologize. There's going to be some reactions, but that's just the
Yes.
passion of the game, baby. That's just the passion of the game. So, for you, as an Avalanche fan, as someone that has watched this team, really kind of, I would say Nathan MacKinnon at one point was doubted, which was kind of foolish because I feel like they were in that building phase. But McKinnon and Rantanen, and I know Landeskog is out for the past 2 years at this point, but you guys have so much talent, like Kale McCarr.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about your Avalanche after this big signing of Devin Taves?
Um, Actually, a lot better. I was happy before that, if I'm going to be 100% honest.
Mm,
When we got Johansson, Russ Colton was probably the sneakiest, the best, maybe the solidest one because watching them play the Kings last Wednesday, that third
mm,
line was fire. Our
yeah,
third line, Colton, Wood, and I'm having a vapor lock right now.
vapor lock. Well,
I'm
let me
vapor
pull.
locking. Yeah, it was Miles Wood,
I'll pull
Ross.
up the team right now here.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, that third line, oof, da.
Now,
And,
do you
and
believe with Devin Taves signing like long term here, right? That like, cause it's relatively long term.
yeah,
Are you kind of thinking that with him and McCarr, you guys have not just a chance for another championship, as I switch tabs here, not just a chance for another championship, but for multiple? Because looking at this roster, you got Nathan MacKinnon, second best player in the world, in my opinion. You got Mikko Rantanen. You have Nichushkin when healthy. He produces pretty good.
yeah.
And I actually like your third line. I thought that Tatar signing was sneaky good
That's the other
because,
one. That's it. So it's
yeah,
Tatar, um, Woods, and Colton.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
that's solid third line. I mean, on any team.
absolutely. I actually would say that Tatar on some teams, maybe not a Stanley Cup winner, can be a second line guy.
Yeah,
And I was surprised he was available for so cheap because he's been a consistent 20 goal guy. We've seen
you and me
contracts
both.
go up, and I thought at the very least would be maybe around 2.5, 3 mil. But getting him at
Hmm.
1.5 and the team around him, I mean, you have to be pleasantly surprised if you're an
Yeah.
Avalanche fan with the amount of depth you guys have. Now, quick question: do you believe in Ryan Johansson being able to turn around his game? I know last year was kind of a little bit
Well,
iffy for him in Nashville, but what do
yeah.
you think of Johansson?
Absolutely. See, because Nashville relied on him to be one of the guys.
Mm,
At this point, he can fly under the radar. I could see him scoring maybe upwards of 25, 30 goals just
mm,
because he's not the focal point.
that's true.
You, you know, he's just going to be on the second line. It's going to be him, Nichushkin, and Arturi Lehkonen, who is probably one of my favorite players because
Mm,
I mean that was the pickup the year before.
yeah.
I mean, we basically stole Lehkonen, and I was just so thrilled. And one of my friends who was a big Montreal fan was like, "Holy crap, you got somebody solid."
Yeah, I think you guys have pretty decent talent throughout in your top nine, your fourth line solid as well. And your D course, like we were talking about it on the phone.
Yeah,
Number one, number two. I mean, I would probably put one because you have Kale McCarr on the back end. I think we both agree on that.
yeah,
And with signing Taves for the long term, I just you can't be too mad at that deal
no, not at all.
because what is it? It's going to be a cap hit of 7.2. It kicks in 24, 25. I'll share this tab to kind of show it. And Cap Friendly likes to show a lot of ads on their thing. I have to
Of
keep
course they
Xing out
do.
of. But on 24, 25, it kicks in. It's a $7.25 million cap hit. Considering the cap should be going up, even if it's like a couple million next season or even a mil, and just, throughout the time of this contract, I kind of like this deal. You didn't overpay him. You're not paying
No,
him 10 mil. You're not
he's not
paying
Darnell
him.
Nurse.
Yeah, exact. No, and that's actually a problem with the Edmonton Oilers because if Darnell Nurse was like a couple mil, like 2-3 mil cheaper, that contract is far more digestible.
Yeah,
And maybe the term for some people might be a bit much until 2031. What is that, 7 years?
yeah,
So he'll be 36. But for a defenseman, 6'1" with his skill set, I still think he'll be a viable option there. And then with the
yeah.
cap, if you project it to keep going up, like in at that point, it's only, I would say, in comparison to today's cap, maybe around 4 or 5 mil, right?
Well,
So
and also over the past 3 or 4 years, isn't he the NHL leader in plus minus?
I believe so. Yes, I believe so. He's been a absolute animal on the
Yeah,
back end.
I
I
mean,
mean,
if you were telling me I was going to get a guy that was the leader in plus minus, going to be good for 50, 60 points a year, and just a rock, and I'm paying 7.25 for him. That's all day.
looking at his career statistics, right? 316 games played, 40 goals, 145 assists, 185 points, a plus 100 plus. Jesus, I didn't know it was plus
Yeah,
of 130.
yeah,
That's
right.
good. That's really good. If you see his plus minus in the last couple of seasons, he's plus 52 season before last, and then it's plus 39 last season. This guy is just very steady, and he's
Yeah,
averaging like 25. Yeah, he's averaging 25 minutes time on ice. It's not like this guy is just a pure power play specialist or something like
no,
that. This guy is viable on both ends of the ice,
yep.
and I think because he's on a team with Cale Makar, he can be a bit underappreciated. I think he would be a number one on most other NHL teams. Not every single one, because there are some really good superstar type defensemen out there. But you mentioned the Oilers. The Oilers would love to have a guy like Devin Taves,
Oh,
right?
they'd,
You
they'd,
know,
they'd punch their next door neighbor for a chance to have a guy like Case. They'd walk right over, punch him in the mouth, knock on his door, pop him in the mouth, and say, "All right, thanks."
and look at the decor. I know Byram's going to be up as an RFA in 2025, but if you look at the young decor, yeah, Jack Johnson, he's old, so if he was still good and he was wanted to bring him back as a sixth, seventh guy, I don't think that would be crazy money.
No,
They're all really young. I
yeah,
know Mason and Johnson 32, 36, but Byram's 22, Gerard 25,
yeah,
Cale Makar is 24, Taves is 29, and
yeah.
Taves got plenty of years left in his prime.
Hmm.
This looks like a decor if they, and I believe in Joe Sakic, if they do everything right, they sign these guys at market value and they kind of sell like, hey, you're going to be playing with one of the best players in the world and have a chance to like win not just one but multiple championships.
Yeah,
You could have buy-in. I know with the Boston Bruins we only won one cup, but a lot of players signed far underneath their market value. Now David Pastrnak, he was one of the few guys for the Bruins that actually did get his relative market value. But even then, considering how much he produces and had over 60 goals, you could
you
argue,
had to pay him.
yeah, yeah, you had to
You,
pay him, and I could
you
argue
had to
you could
pay
pay him
him.
more. You could pay him more.
Yeah,
Um, and I just think as an Avalanche fan, you guys are going to be so damn good. Uh, because I look at McKinnon, I look at Rantanen, I look at Nichushkin, and
Artie,
yeah, look
Lekanen.
at this. You have Nichushkin signed till 2030 for 6.1 mil.
I know.
That and Nichushkin, I think when healthy, he was nearly almost a point per game last season.
He was.
He
I think he had played 50, 55 games, had 47 points, so just a hair under.
Yeah, just a hair under. You could see him scoring 70, 80 points.
Yeah.
He's probably a top line winger that's on a second line because the team's depth. Now, Jonathan Drouin, I know there's the connection with McKinnon.
Uh,
I know there's a connection with McKinnon because of the juniors together. They played
yeah.
juniors together. Um,
Halifax.
yeah, not the biggest Drouin guy, but
Me neither.
if he can be a plug on the McKinnon Rantanen line, it's weird because with McKinnon and Rantanen, they're so damn good. I don't think they need someone crazy expensive over there in left wing or
No.
somebody like crazy talent. They're just like, hey, you go in the right spots and we'll make you have a good contract eventually,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of
Well,
how it's looked at.
and the way they also looked at the whole Drouin thing was McKinnon's work ethic, drive is just
insane.
It's stupid. So he's gonna hold Drew into a higher. I think he's gonna hold him to a higher standard than he's had to have when he was with Montreal or Tampa.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's nobody that's he's gonna get pushed, and he's gonna get pushed hard.
McKinnon's, if he sees a Kit Kat bar in his freaking backpack, he's just gonna beat the brakes off him. Like, how dare you? How dare you have a snack? Is this sugar? Are you uncivilized swine? Just starts beating him. Like, I'm like, I mean,
Bad state right now for a Kit Kat.
It does the Heimlich maneuver, like throw up, throw up. But I think, and I just look at the Avalanche overall. They're a solid team, and hear me out. I'm a big believer in Gorgiev. I liked him when he played for the Rangers. I think Gorgiev.
I'm becoming a fan.
I think he can be in the Vezina discussion this year.
I mean, I don't know if he was a candidate last year, but the dude had 40 wins.
Dude, he played so many games.
He had 40 wins. He had 40 wins on a team that for 3 or 4 weeks, the third and fourth line was the Colorado Eagles.
That's what I was just going to say. He played on a team, essentially the Colorado Eagles AHL team at the NHL level for about a month.
Yeah.
And he still put up good numbers.
Yeah. Which is
I remember when he came
ridiculous.
I remember when we played the Avalanche, the Boston Bruins, and it's like, dude was making great saves. And it kind of just proves that sometimes you just need a new situation. I know they weren't going to move off Shesterkin, and I'm not saying Gorgiev is necessarily Shesterkin, but I don't think he's like just a backup goalie that's succeeding on a good team.
No.
I think he's a viable starter. And he's kind of been coming into his own. And he's a workhorse, and that's really what you got to like seeing. I mean, his first game he played pretty well.
Yeah, that first game against the Kings he was on it. I mean, one of the goals, I can't remember if it was the first or second one, was a little but I mean, it's the Kings. That's a playoff team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no joke. They play heavy, they're not, I mean, between Kopitar, Dubois,
they have Buffalo. I mean, they have Velarde still there. I believe Velarde's still there. I mean, Byfield. I mean, yeah, the Avalanche have a pretty talented roster. The only question mark for me is in goal because Korpisalo left and went to Ottawa.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure if a Copley Talbot tandem is going to be good enough. Oh, Kempe, Fiala. No, yeah, that's right. Velarde got traded. Yeah, he's no longer there.
Yeah, you got Kempe too.
Yeah, like you have good quality scoring. I think
that's
pretty
solid.
Damn good defense.
That's solid. That's going to get you in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think Gavrikov is a pretty solid defenseman in his own right. Good, solid top four guy. Drew Doughty's still quality.
I mean, yeah, Drew Doughty. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I think so.
The one worry though here, goaltending. I mean, Talbot, I don't think he's going to be enough. I don't think Copley's been a fringe guy his whole career, and he put up decent numbers last year. Like he'd be a solid backup, but I just don't think right now they have a guy. And Kalviev, I mean, Kalviev, he's suspended for 2 games, so he'll be playing soon.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at them, and I mean, Portillo is looked at as the guy, but I think he's 6'6", and I don't know, maybe he gets a look.
Well, I think they're going to do the Talbot Korpisalo experiment until they find out which one's better and which one's gets the hot hand, and then just roll with him till it,
Yeah, I mean, I just think with Copley and Talbot, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. That's their one weakness. And I think Korpisalo, when they traded for him for the Columbus Blue Jackets, they brought him in. I thought it was smart because you now stabilize your goaltending situation because Cal Peterson couldn't save a beach ball. He just couldn't. He was terrible.
No, he couldn't.
He couldn't save anything. And,
I mean, he had a game or two where he was okay.
Right.
But then it was just, with the real Cal Peterson, please stand up. And
it's weird because they moved off Quick, and then Quick gets traded to Columbus, then gets, traded to the Knights and gets a third cup doing nothing. And I think, for me, it was just weird that because Cal Peterson was supposed to be the guy for the future. Like he was supposed to be the guy that, took on the reins from Jonathan Quick, and it just didn't work out that way. But I mean, when I'm looking at this team, it's a pretty solid team. But I think with the Avalanche are going to be good. And let's kind of just look around. I know it's early, folks. I know it's early. I'm not getting crazy here. I'm just going to say the Bruins are number 1 in the NHL again. No, all jokes aside.
The girlfriend agreed, by the way.
Oh yeah, let's go. Damn straight. What team has surprised you the most thus far throughout this young season?
I'm really saying it's really too early to tell. I need at least 5 games,
Mm.
but just what Vancouver did to Edmonton just made me chuckle.
Oh my
I
god.
I had to giggle. I was
Yeah.
like, as I got to, the kid we used to play Chell with, Jordan.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
messaged me. He goes, check the score. He lives in Vancouver, but he's a Winnipeg fan. He goes, he says, hey, have you looked at the Vancouver Edmonton score? I said, no, not really, because I was watching the Kings and the Avs. I was like, I wasn't really paying much attention. I looked at that, I was like, oh my god,
It was a
what
beatdown.
happened?
It was rough because I ended up watching the game again. And I'm not gonna say it's all on Campbell and Skinner because they both went 12 for 16, 12 saves, 16
Yeah,
shots against. The defensive breakdowns weren't great, but there were some goals. It's like, okay, like you need to make that save. Like that's like I could be a beer league goalie and make that save. Like you just need to get in front of it at some point. And I think for the Edmonton Oilers, the one caveat on this team, and I'm not gonna like, oh, they're gonna be terrible this year because I'm not. I don't think the Oilers are gonna be worse than the Canucks. I think the Canucks had a great first game. Maybe they
yeah,
kind of woke up people's eyes. Like maybe changed my opinion on them. Maybe they could possibly flirt with a wild card spot if they play
yeah.
like that. Brock Besser had 4 goals. He had a magical night. I mean, it even hit him at one point. Guy like trying to throw it to the center, just went off his leg and then went in. And that was like,
Yeah.
I think that was his third goal, his hat trick or fourth goal. And it's
It was
just like
ridiculous.
it's just one of those nights where everything went wrong for the Edmonton Oilers, everything went right for the Vancouver
Yeah,
Canucks. But the Oilers, there is an actual legitimate question mark in net for them.
yeah. There's a
Because
concern. That was gonna be probably my biggest surprise. Is I know the goalie tandem in Edmonton is not always going to be that bad,
yeah,
but is Edmonton gonna have to look for a goalie at the deadline?
I hate to say it this way because I don't like to be reactionary. I think it's one game. I think Stuart Skinner is young and can develop, but I have to say this. With how this current team, the Oilers, is constructed, right? I mean, they went out and they got Ekholm, who on
Yeah,
most teams would be a solid one, very least a two. You have Evander Kane. You have McDavid like expiring in 26. You have Draisaitl expiring in 25. This is probably the best version of this team. I don't know if I mean listen, the Oilers are smart. They re-signed McDavid at like 20 million if they have to.
yeah,
He's like a one-man show. But
yeah.
with Leon Draisaitl, McDavid, will they be able to retain both of them just from a financial side of things? And if they
I
do,
can't see it.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's going to deplete the rest of the team
yeah,
because let's say you get both of them, right? And they just want more money. Let's say Leon's like, "Yo, I'm making 8.5. I want at least 12."
yeah.
Can you have
And,
that on your team and be successful?
and the whole thing is, you got to give that to him. I
Yeah.
mean, he's sneakily been, top 5 in the league.
Some people would say he's number 2. I say McKinnon. I think he's probably third or fourth.
Yeah,
And he's just dominant. He's a big physical guy,
yeah,
great shot, good playmaking. It's kind of like Crosby Malkin in this sense that I think Malkin's kind of I don't think Draisaitl's underrated, but I think a little bit forgotten about due to McDavid being on his
yep.
team.
Oh,
Where if
I
Malkin was on another
100%.
team, where Malkin was if Malkin was on any other team, he'd be a franchise #1 Hall of Fame
Oh,
center.
yeah,
Same thing with Draisaitl. I think it's just the comparison in that regard is so similar. Um, but I mean the defense. I mean Ekholm and Bouchard. Bouchard's a young guy who's looked pretty solid. Darnell Nurse. Is he 9.25? No. But I mean Cody
yeah.
Ceci, Brett Kulak, Philip
Bouchard
Broberg.
Bouchard impressed the hell out of me when I was watching him in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, he did to me. He showed a lot of
That kid,
poise. A
yeah.
lot of poise. I mean, I don't I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure what they're going to be doing going forward. Um, Apparently, there's been some rumors. There's no real validity to this that the Edmonton Oilers are interested among the Bruins goaltenders. Which I mean, yeah, no duh. Um, do the Oilers make a trade for one of the Bruins goalies?
I mean, if they want a legit shot at the playoffs, they're going to have to get a better goalie because I mean, everything tightens down in the playoffs. You know this.
Yeah.
You're not Edmonton's not going to be able to score because they're going to need to score at least 4.5, 5 goals every game in the playoffs to win.
And we found out last year it doesn't work. That's not a
No,
recipe to playoff success. Maybe
no,
a first round success, but
hmm
not a deep playoff run.
no. I mean, if you're lucky, maybe Eastern Conference or Western Conference Finals at best.
Yeah, if everything falls accordingly, but like
Yeah,
when you're looking at, just let's just go to their division, right? Let's just stay in the Pacific, right? Looking at it. You have Vegas, who they score through depth. I think Jack Eichel's really good. I think he's, on that borderline of being a superstar. You have
yeah,
Mark Stone, but their defense is so great. And I
yeah.
think
Oh,
White Cloud and Haig are the best third pairing in the NHL. And they're both extremely young, and they'll eventually
yeah.
take over a top four role. And like, okay, let's go down with it, right.
Oh
The LA
no.
Kings, I think structure still pretty decent. What happened? Something bad happened in the Colorado game.
Oh, freaking McCarr took a puck in the right leg, right as
Okay,
the
hopefully,
Perry was ending, and he's kind of gimping off. I was like, really?
hopefully
Let's
just a
not. I don't want to
bruise.
see this movie again.
Hopefully just a
I do not want
bruise.
to see this movie again.
Um, Vancouver Canucks, they showed a little bit of their potential. I think that Thatcher Demko, like, actually, let's just break it this. Golden Knights with Aiden Hill or Thompson, better goaltending than the Oilers.
Yeah,
Vancouver Canucks, I believe, better goaltending with Thatcher Demko and Casey DeSmith.
that
Calgary,
that's your Demko kid. God, he shows flashes.
he was hurt last year and he tried to play through it. And I watched him a lot in Boston College. So I'll fully admit I'm biased. I've been a fan of him since he was in college. And I think he's really good. I just think he's been on some really poor defensive teams
Yeah,
and been left out to dry. And then he tried to play injured and actually he made it worse. So they had to shut him down. I think he is one of the better goalies in the NHL. And I think he'll show that this season if they can
yeah.
be competent in front of him. Um, but
I
yeah, go ahead, sir.
borderline. I think they're borderline playoffs. Like Vancouver, if they can keep everybody healthy,
That's the
Demko
big thing.
does what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And Brock Besser keeps, playing out of his bleeping mind, I think they can make the playoffs. I mean, at least they're gonna really make it hard for everybody they play, you know, just they're gonna be a thorn in everybody's side. I don't know if they'll
Yeah.
make the playoffs, but they're gonna just be like, oh, I gotta play them.
Well, and it's interesting because I think Vegas better goaltending, Vancouver better goaltending. Markstrom to me is confusing. So
Yes.
I don't know. I just genuinely don't know because he's good one year, bad the next. So far, Calgary, he was terrible
Jekyll and
last
Hyde.
year. I mean, they have a. I'll just be very fair here. Vladar and Markstrom, I'm kind of still a little bit iffy on. I'm hoping Markstrom because I love his story. He was high pick in Florida, didn't work out. Went to Vancouver, kind of struggled, found his game late, later in his career, played fantastic. Mediocre first year in Calgary, but then he was in Vezina discussion his second year. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping in his fourth year in Calgary he bounces back. So I mean, I think with Calgary, it's kind of like the same thing. I don't know. I also think the guy they have the AHL with the Wranglers, Dustin Wolf, he's an NHL goalie that's just waiting due to the goalies in front of him. But I actually think Dustin Wolf is better than Vladar and probably arguably right now better than Markstrom. Um,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I'm very high on him. Seattle Kraken. I mean, Grubauer, he had a damn good run. Can he do that in the regular season though?
Yeah.
Like that's my caveat with
Well, I mean,
Grubauer.
I saw him for a couple years. When he's good, he's solid.
Yeah, and he
But I
looked good
mean,
thus far this season.
and it's just. But I mean, I don't know. He got a little roughed up against Vegas that first game.
Yeah, second game he bounced back though.
Yeah. So I
It
don't. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think Edmonton that has to be forefront. Of if we're really gonna try to make a run for the cup, they have to go after goalie.
yeah, I think they're middle of the pack with goaltending. Honest question here: does the Oilers call the Anaheim Ducks and say, "Hey, are you taking talks about Gibson?"
Whew.
He's been on a bad team for a very long time.
Yeah.
And, I think he's still decent enough. It's kind of hard to tell with Gibson because, like, my man is just left out to dry on the Ducks. So it's kind of hard to tell. Like, is he really regressed that much? Or is it just, like kind of the product of the situation he currently is in? I mean, last year he had a sub 900, but
Yeah.
899. But the Ducks,
It stunk.
they sucked. Yeah, I mean,
They
let's
were-
just
They were
they're
a
not a good
dumpster
team.
fire.
They're not a good team, and it's
No.
for a few years stretch, he was one of the more dominant goalies in the NHL,
Yeah.
and I think there's still I still believe that's in him somewhat. Do I think prime? Do I think prime Gibson? Probably not. But to be fair, we don't know.
Is 80% Gibson better than Campbell or Skinner?
Yes, you could put a shooter tutor in that Vancouver game. It would have made more saves. Anthony Manzo, I appreciate you popping in. Is there a way the Panthers can make room in the salary cap to trade for another player with a big salary? Well, let's actually let me look right now. Let's go right into cap friendly.
I only think they're about.
Yeah, they have
maybe
they have
million?
oh Jesus Christ, they have zero
Yeah.
money. Like they're literally right up against it. I don't. So if the Florida Panthers wanted to kind of make a move, I mean, you don't move Kachuk for obvious reasons. You don't move Barkov or Higgy at that price is a steal.
Anthony, if you're a Florida Panther fan, first and foremost, I really want to thank you for taking Evan Rodriguez.
You're stupid. I think for me, Sam Reinhart, he gets off the books at the end of this season. He's at 6.5. I mean, do they bring him back? Do they retain him? I'm not sure they have enough cap flexibility to really bring in anyone. I think their roster is their roster just because Sergei Bobrovsky is getting paid so much money.
Yeah.
And 10 million. And he played fantastic. He looked pretty solid in his first game. I'm just not really too sure.
There's no wiggle room there.
Yeah, there's really no wiggle room. And I actually do think the Florida Panthers have a solid roster. I think some people are writing them off thinking last year was just a fluke. I watched it firsthand when they destroyed my dreams. I think all that shit talking like we're gonna win a cup, and then the Florida Panthers are like not so much. And I think for me, there's still good guys here. I think Lundell, he's a young guy. I liked what I saw from him in the playoffs. Listerainen, another young guy. I think the Panthers, they're not necessarily in the position to really get anybody expensive, because another thing we have to take into consideration is Spencer Knight is currently on an AHL conditioning stint. Like he got sent down. He's waiver exempt, so he got sent down to the AHL to the Charlotte Checkers so he can get games. I think you have a solid team here. Last year, I mean, yeah, I think in the Stanley Cup Finals, I think the Vegas Golden Knights probably still win. I picked the Panthers, but most likely. But if Kachuk doesn't get hurt, maybe that's a different series. Yeah. That's the biggest what ifs if I'm a Florida Panthers fan. Like, is Kachuk's there just because you know the talent's there, and he was playing like 50%. Let's call it what it is when he was trying to get it through. Do the Panthers have a better shot? I think so. I think Bobrovsky just got tired too at the end of that run. Like he was locked in. Anthony asks, is the way the Panthers can adjust the cap hit for Bob?
I mean, if they restructure his deal, but wouldn't that won't kick until next year though?
I'm not sure how that would work. This is actually you could probably open up $5 million cap. Let's say you want to trade Bob. I'm not saying you do this, right? But let's say you trade Bobrovsky, because let's be fair, he had a monstrous run in the playoffs, but regular season he can be kind of up and down. He can have a very good year and then a very bad year, and sometimes multiple bad years in a row. But when Bob is locked in, he's one of the best goalies on the planet, as we saw.
He's terrifying.
And
let's just put it at that.
You have to kind of question in that point if you want to kind of open up some cap space, right? Would maybe Spencer Knight and Anthony Stolarz be an okay enough tandem to get you back to the playoffs? Now, I think Spencer Knight, really good young goalie. I think eventually will be that franchise guy. Am I saying is he going to be a Hall of Famer? I'm not sure yet. It's too young to tell.
Yeah.
But you guys did get rid of Devin Levi, traded him off to the Sabres because you believed in Knight more. I still believe he's got a very good goaltender inside of him. I just think with him dealing, what was that, with OCD, he had to go into the assistance program for that. If he can kind of just find that healthy mental balance, I think he's one of the better goalies. I think he'll develop into like probably a top 10 goalie in the NHL in a year or two. I think the talent is there, the reflexes, the lateral quickness, his technique. When he is just purely locked in, I believe in Knight. And when you kind of go back to the film of the World Junior Championships when they beat Canada, the dude was a brick wall. And
Yeah.
I hate going that far back, but it's just I think that's still in them. I mean, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? What do you think? Do you think the Florida Panthers can make a trade? And do you think Spencer Knight, could be that superstar goalie, even star level goalie?
Oh, maybe. It's I me personally, I don't have enough of a book on him. I haven't seen enough.
Mm, mm,
I just, you know, granted, there was times where you saw flashes of, hey, this kid
absolutely.
can hold it down,
Yeah.
and then there was other times where like, oh Lord, what's he doing? And
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
but that all comes with experience.
Well, and that's the thing I think we have to remind ourselves with goaltenders. I mean, because I'll even put Stuart Skinner in that because I think he's only 25 now. I mean, like when you look at Spencer Knight, let's go over to him real quick. Share this tab. He's only 22.
Yeah,
It's
in
he's
goalie
young.
years, he's a baby.
And I mean, this is actually a greater conversation we could probably have because I know he's drafted high, 13th overall, and he's a Connecticut legend. But I actually have to ask this: do goalies get ruined by getting called up too early at the NHL level? Because we've kind of seen this happen with Knight's kind of, adequate numbers, right? Like last season, 901. I mean, not great, but decent. And then the season before that, 908, solid average NHL numbers. Uh, do we ruin these goalies by bringing them up in the NHL so quick instead of letting them develop at the AHL? Because
Um,
because I look at Spencer Knight, I look at Carter Hart, and I know it's not all Hart, but like the team in front of him was not good for a bit.
no,
Do you think it actually ruins some of these young guys?
I think it does. Just to kind of parallel off this, think about all the NFL quarterbacks that got put in too early and just got turned to crap.
That's true. That's
You
true.
know, I mean, like, and then you look at like Steve Young, who sat behind Joe Montana for years, and then just came out and
Mhm.
killed it.
Was fantastic.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, and he essentially rode the pine for what, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that.
yeah. I mean, he looked, really good. I think for me, when it kind of comes to the goaltending position, I like to give these guys more of a
Yeah.
chance to develop. And by bringing them up so young, I think it makes it more difficult. Now, some could argue, like, oh, well, they bring them up now, see if they have the mentality to handle the NHL level. But I'm not
I'm
sure
going to
if that
disagree with that.
yeah, I'm not sure that's the best way to go about it. You want to
No.
build this guy's confidence up so he feels like, hey, like we're here. Like we're gonna help you. We're gonna get you more confidence. I think like a guy that stand out to me like Dustin Wolf for the Colorado Wranglers. I think Calgary's handled that perfectly because they're like, you know what? We have two goalies. Maybe we're not happy with the situation, but we're gonna let this guy dominate at the AHL level. So then
Yeah.
when he gets up, he's fully ready to go, and he's played
Yeah.
against men, so he's kind of ready. Now, I mean, is there a little bit of a transition? Obviously, because you're going from the AHL to the NHL. But I think we're calling up some of these goalies too early. Now, some could argue, I mean, oh, well, look at Devin Levi. He's played really good as he's been with the Sabres. But I would actually kind of argue it's kind of early to tell on Levi. I think the
Yeah.
flashes are there, the potential's there.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Sabres don't play better defense in front of him,
Yeah.
you can ruin a guy pretty young in
Well,
his
yeah.
career.
Well, and that's the other thing is another thing to take away from that is Georgiev. How long did he sit behind Shesterkin and
Oh, yeah.
King Henry?
A few years, right? Yeah.
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 And bided his time, and look where he is now. He won 40 games last year,
Yeah. I mean, he was.
and that's his
He
first real, and that was his first real full year in the net.
I mean, I think.
I mean, granted, he's also got a pretty good, set of blue liners in front of him, which helps. But you know,
Yeah, I mean, I think the team situation obviously helps, but Gorgiev's also rose to the occasion. So we've seen a lot of young, promising goaltenders even go into the perfect situation just suck because they
yeah,
got called up too early, or I think let's actually look at that right now. If this is gonna work for me, please. I butcher his spelling all the time because it's like weird. Here we go. Let's go to Gorgiev. Okay. So start out the season strong this far. Yeah, no, I do not want to pay for this, please. So, one game, 944 save percentage, 2 goals against. Pretty good, pretty
yeah,
good. I know they're playing right now, but um, look how many years he was with the Rangers.
yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 years as a backup. Now he's you could argue, well, look, he's at the NHL level, but he's a backup. He's not really
yeah.
dependent on it being the number one.
No,
And that's where I think some of these goalies need to be. If they're going to be at the
yep,
NHL level, at least put them as a backup. So
yeah,
that way you're not destroying them. And
yeah,
that's the unfortunate part that I'm seeing with a lot of these young goalies come in because I think fans and GMs think, oh, they're going to save the franchise. I just don't think
no,
that's the case.
no. And the whole thing is, he had 5 years to get. I mean, I know this isn't as big a deal, but to get acclimated to the whole lifestyle of being in the NHL.
Yeah.
That's all. There's something to be said for that too.
Yeah,
It's
because
not just
yeah.
playing. It's being with the guys, being with the boys. Hey, we're doing a back to back on a road trip. We need you to you know hold it
Kill me
down for
for
that
it.
second game,
And that's
and
the
he
big
knows
thing.
his role.
Because think about it, when you're in college, right, or in juniors, you don't play as many games as you do in the
No,
NHL. And it's people like they just look at the games, but also like the practices and the conditioning and everything. And there's so much more to it than just one thing.
yep,
And to me, the big thing for me is giving these guys confidence.
yeah.
That's the important thing here. So, all right, let's actually wrap this up. A little question here thus far. A little question. Let's go into this real quick. So
Gilles Meloche.
you see Shields. Oh my god, I love you, Jeff.
I actually, dude, I was listening to the NHL Network, and there was a Gilles Meloche mention on the NHL Network, and I was listening on Sirius Friday. I about wrecked my truck. I was laughing so
That's
hard.
funny. Shields Malash is a Hall of Famer. I know, man. It's been a minute. Um, so you're looking at some guys have some explosive starts like Malkin, Matthews, Gensel, William Nylander, Jack Hughes, Tavares, 5 points. Brock Besser with the 4 goals. My man decided like I don't pass the puck, I score, baby. Um, let's go through. I mean, Evan Rodriguez had 4 points in 2 games. I mean, he's top.
Whatever. Shut up.
um, so I think your favorite player.
Ugh.
Who do you think was going to lead the scoring? Who do you think is going to lead the NHL in scoring this season?
Probably McDavid. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Okay, number two. I'll go with two. That was kind of
two.
easy. Yeah, number two.
Well,
Number two.
I mean, actually, I mean, if he stays healthy, I'd say, I mean, I'm not trying to be a homer, but it's going to make me sound like a total homer. Is McKinnon. Dude, he had 65. He missed like 15, 16 games, dude, and he had 100 points.
So I have a hot take, and I will answer this, Anthony, right after this, right? I think Nathan McKinnon will finish with more points than Connor McDavid.
Whoa. From your
Uh,
from your lips to the hockey god's ears, my friend.
Because listen now, I'm not saying McKinnon's better. I think they're both one, two. Fantastic players.
1A, 1B. There's not, I mean,
Yeah, it's just they're so damn good. Health provided.
yeah.
People like McKinnon was on a torrid pace. Now, as much as McDavid, no, but I don't think McDavid's going to be able to replicate what he did last season. I don't think that's like reasonable. So I could see McKinnon maybe winning by a point or two. To be
Yeah.
fair, maybe I also could see McDavid scoring 200 points. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I think McKinnon with the situation he's in, I think he could have the best offensive season of his career thus far. I do. I
Yeah.
think he's that talented. I think he's a lot of fun to watch, and I could
Oh, he's
see
a
him
hoot.
just going on a tear.
Yeah.
Um, what about you?
Oh, hot. I concur. I mean, he's on a good line. You
Yep.
know, Rantanen was. I was watching the pregame and they were talking about Rantanen, and they were saying he's his passing ability is on point, if not better than Peter Forsberg. And I'm like, whoa! I'm an
Yeah.
Avalanche fan. And I was like, whoa, easy.
I mean, Forsberg was a legend, but I mean, I have to say, when you watch Rantanen, he makes some disgusting passes,
Yeah,
really filthy.
yeah.
Um, Anthony says, "Can you imagine if, let's say, Ottawa misses the playoffs this year, the Panthers try to convince them to get Brady Kachuk? Oh, the two Kachuk brothers. That would be fun.
That would
I'm
be.
not. That would be. I don't know
But
how logistically possible that'd be, but that'd be
essentially, you're
fun.
going to have to trade Carter Verhaeghe for Brady Kachuk.
Would you do it?
I might. I mean, you'd probably have to give up. You'd probably have to get Brady. Probably have to give up Verhaeghe and probably a second or third, at least a second round draft pick.
What's how much per Brady's making 8.2. Okay.
Carter's making
Um
4.1, 4.2.
I think for Hagee, because he's scored 40 goals.
Yeah.
If that would be fun though. I'm not gonna lie, it would be fun to see the Kachuk brothers be a bunch
Oh,
of
that'd be
like
a hoot.
just
I'd
imagine
watch.
Matt, Matt Matt on the right, Brady on the left, just being a bunch of nuisances. That would
Well,
be fun. I
I
actually
you
kind
know
of want that to be. I want that to
I,
be a
there's a
thing.
part
I'm
of me
not
that
gonna.
wants that to happen too, and you know why? Is
Oh
because
my god.
I want them losing 4-0 to Buffalo and hear them argue. That's what I want.
Dad has to come down from the press box.
Mom,
Keith,
mom standing on the bench with her arms crossed, looking at him, shaking her head.
that would be fun though. I think Brady and Matthew together on a line would be hilarious, just
Oh,
because of like entertaining they are. Um,
I think it'd be fantastic because you, I mean, and that all of a sudden becomes maybe one of the top 3 lines in hockey when you got the Kachuk brothers and Barkov in the middle.
that's actually funny. Anthony just said that. I mean, that would be kind of insane. That would actually be probably the best line in hockey. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think. Oh, and Anthony says for his selection, he thinks Austin Matthews, number 2, I believe, or 1, number 2 or 1. I actually I don't think that's a bad pick. Matthews.
that's not a bad pick either.
No, that's not a bad pick. That's actually a solid pick because I think Matthews is going to put up a lot of points.
He's going to put up a lot of points.
But yeah, Brady. I mean, I don't think Ottawa does it because I don't really think. I think like to Ottawa, Brady's their guy. Like he's that.
It is. He is. He's their kind of
Yeah, he's
their
what they're gonna.
cornerstone.
I mean, I know Tim Stutzla. Stutzla's a young, a little bit younger. Only 3 years really, but he was terrific last year. So I
Now,
think he's probably their guy, like number 1 guy.
here's my question: if you're Ottawa, would you take Verhaeghe and Lindell?
If you could make the cap work, I'm not sure.
I mean,
I don't know if the Panthers would trade Lindell and yeah. I mean because that's an intriguing trade in the regard. Like I'd have to really kind of sit down and read and stuff because I mean Lindell is an RFA this year. And he'll probably get a pay bump if he has a good year. He was drafted pretty high, 12th overall in 2020.
okay, more cap friendly. Lindell and Reinhardt. That's about 7.5.
Yeah, that's 7.5. Well, 7.7 or something like that. I'd have to, math is slipping me at like midnight.
Yeah, but I mean, would you Reinhardt and Lindell for Brady Kachuk?
I think they get the best player in the deal with Brady with Florida, but then you get a young center back.
Mm-hmm.
Then my headset just disconnected because it said, "Yeah, fuck you." I'll hear you in a second.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
There we go. I don't know. Because Brady's not. I mean, it's not like Lindell's 18. He's 22. It's only a couple years different. I think Brady's a far superior player. I think Brady's better than both of them.
Yeah. But I mean,
I would want to get Verhaeghe in the deal. Let's say hypothetically, right? Because I'd want a left wing back.
So Verhaeghe and Reinhardt. You'd have to.
Mm,
Ottawa would have to kick the tires on that at the very least.
Verhaeghe and Reinhardt, I think at that you're obviously Ottawa's getting more value, but then you get Brady Kachai.
I
Because
mean,
yeah, that's man. This is why we should be GMs because we're just gonna make up a bunch of trades and just do what
yeah.
we feel like. I mean, you know
Heaven
what,
for heaven forbid I ever win the lottery because you're moving to Rapid City.
dude,
Or
I would totally own a fucking team with you. I would own an ECHL team. You know what? I like his name. He's traded for. But it sounds like a good hockey
my
name.
girlfriend thinks he's hot. We're trading for him.
Um, Imagine.
It'd be
But
so
yeah,
awful.
I think like that would be pretty good. Let's see. Play. I will give up Carter and Anton for. Oh, he would give up. Okay, he would give him up for Brady. Um, as for the Panthers, I would be willing to give up Sam and Carter for Brady. I mean, that's
Eh?
I think it's a decent trade. Oh, what's up, headphone man? Good to see you, brother. Doing try to do this weekly podcast. Try to be a little bit more a little bit on schedule. I know I'm a day late, but wanted to get it done. We're just kind of going through some hypotheticals, having a little bit of fun while we wrap up the show. But yeah, Brady Kachuk and Matthew Kachuk with Barkov, that would be disgusting. I think
That'd be filthy.
that would be such a fun line to watch, and it'd be good for Florida fans because they got to get a ton of shit.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? The Florida Panther fans get traded talk like so much shit about, but they have fans. They have passionate hockey fans. It's
Yeah.
just the last owner of that team destroyed their reputation because I remember going down to Fort Lauderdale, right, for Coast Guard training, and I could get a ticket for like $8 and get like a free hot dog and a drink and everything
What?
included. I'm dead serious. Yes, like
Dude,
the
that's
old
a steal.
ownership.
That's cheaper than
Yeah,
some ECHL teams.
yeah. I mean, it's
That's ridiculous. Hell,
yeah,
you
no,
sign me up for that.
yeah, exactly. Um, Edward asks, "Oh, a little bit more people tricking in. Appreciate you. What do y'all think about Buffalo's awful start?
It's not gonna. Buffalo is
They
my
they look
sleeper. They're
insanely
gonna.
slow and sloppy.
They, it's. I'll ask that question again in 15 to 20 games. I think you guys are going to be okay. I think, you know, Buffalo's got a fantastic young core.
Yeah,
They just, and I think they took their lumps last season, which they
yeah,
needed. And I think that's just going to make them, they're going to be a pain in the ass to play.
yeah. I agree. I think Buffalo. Now, I'm not sure how I look at them as a playoff team. To be fair, because for Buffalo, I picked them last year to be in the wild card, and they broke my dreams. And I
I
was
still think
upset.
they're going to do it. I think they can this year.
I think I think they have the possibility. They definitely have the talent.
Yeah.
There's no questioning the talent on this Buffalo team. I mean, Jeff Skinner, I think at 9 mil is a little much for what he is, but whatever. I mean, they paid him to
Yeah.
get them there. Tage Thompson's a superstar. Alex Tuck, local kid.
Yeah.
Paterka, he scored a
Darlene.
goal. You
Rasmus
got
Dahlin.
Darlene, Zach Benson, young kid, drafted 13 overall in this draft. He played for the Winnipeg Ice last season in the WHL, and now the Winnipeg Ice no longer exist, I believe. So they changed the name completely now. But it's he looks good. He's one of those guys. It's kind of like a boomer bust guy. He has some high end potential. In defensive, you got Darlene, you got Owen Power, you got you guys acquire Connor Clifton, and if you keep Connor Clifton in a third pairing, you'll be fine. As a Bruins fan, you'll be fine. Just don't expect top four. I'm dead serious. Do not expect top four from him because there's moments of brilliance, and then there's moments of like, what the fuck was that? It's like,
Yep.
we called it Cliffy hockey. But it's I mean, you got Devin Levi. I think rough game. It's hard because I don't. When I watch those goals, like I did a video on the Rangers versus the Sabres that first game, and I don't blame really Levi on a lot of it. I'd have to look back at it again. It was just really good plays and poor defense. I believe in Devin Levi. I'm just not sure of the backup. I don't know if UPL is good enough, and I don't know if Eric Comrie is good enough. Because I'll just make this very clear. An old and ancient Craig Anderson was their best starter until Devin Levi graduated or got out of college. I'm just calling that what that is. And Anderson's a great goalie, very good goalie for a long time. But when you're expecting like a 41-year-old to be
Hmm.
your number one, you are in a rough situation.
Yeah,
You are very, very rough situation.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, when Methuselah's between the pipes.
um, how Anthony asks, how long before you think Rasmus Dahlin demands a trade from Buffalo, like you saw Jack Eichel? That situation was different because I
Yeah.
mean, Dahlin, you just signed, but Jack Eichel, that was the surgery. There was a difference where Eichel wanted to get a specific surgery that the Sabres weren't
Hmm.
comfortable with, and Jack Eichel's like, F you, I'm gonna do what I want, get it done.
Yep.
And then they found a team in Vegas that were fine with him taking that surgery.
Yeah.
Um, it's hard. I understand why Sabre fans were so mad because it's like you drafted this kid, you thought he was going to be the next guy, like drafting after McDavid, you thought he'd be your franchise center for years to come, years
Hmm.
to come. I just think that the relationship just deteriorated pretty quickly. The
Yeah.
team was bad, but I think it was more the medical situation. It's like final nail in the coffin. Like I'm done. I'm not
Yeah.
dealing
There
with
was
this.
a lot of other stuff that was just
Yeah, there was so much. There was just so much there that like I can't just blame it on one thing. You know what I mean?
no. There were so many
Um,
factors. I mean, he was on a bad team for a dog's age, got injured, and it was bubbling. It was like the water was boiling.
um, headphone. I'll kind of mention this. So just watch your vid about the Bruins game. I think there was some really terrible calls. Where Patras was tripped by a Nashville player and it didn't get called, but Lindholm was called for a trip. Also, I think cross-check call Marchand was kind of weak, to be honest. Nyquist clearly dived. I mean, let's just go with the dive. Do I think he overreacted a bit? Yeah, absolutely. But why are you
Yeah.
doing that? Like, it's just to me, you're the captain now. You got to show a little bit more composure. You
Uh-huh.
understood your team already took like 6 penalties or say
Yeah.
5 at that time. You need to kind of calm and simmer things down.
Yeah.
Were there some weak calls? Yeah, maybe, but I think a lot of them were justified. I thought there were some really bad like that, what was it? Lindholm interference. I'm like, what are you doing? This isn't NHL 24 with penalties off. Like, you can't just like hit somebody without the puck. And it's just, there was some poor plays. I mean, with some missed calls, yes, but I think the Bruins played really undisciplined for that game. And all things considered, the penalty kill looks fantastic. Just like if we're gonna take a silver lining out of all those penalties, their penalty kill was great, and it shows. Uh, while the Bruins, I still think need to find their scoring identity besides Pasternak, right? I think it shows how good defensively they are as a team, and they should still be
Hmm.
very good this season. I'm not like not going 82-0, but the dream technically still alive. But I think the
The
like
dream's
when it kind of
alive.
comes down to it,
I think after every Bruins game you do, if they keep winning, you need to have Jeff make you a graphic just saying the dream is still alive.
Edward says it's frustrating watching almost all the teams in the first few games and then watching the Sabres. And these games are ugly, slow, and boring. Man, I hope y'all right. I don't have a ton of faith in Granato. Team doesn't look ready. They overthink everything. Us Buffalo fans are done with mediocrity. Nashville looks great, very entertaining hockey. So I can understand you. I'm not going to sit here and
Yeah.
I can't even really blame you, right?
No.
I can't blame you. I would be pissed too. Like, what the, like, why aren't we better? Like, we have all this talent.
Yeah.
I just, you know what though? I will say this. Maybe it is time for a different head coach in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a possibility. You have good talent here in
Yeah.
Buffalo. When you look on paper, I mean, this is a playoff type team, especially with these guys that you have. I think, you made some acquisitions like Samuelson, Darlene, Power, Haru. Like, you have quality defense. When you brought in Connor Clifton, I think in a bottom pairing is fine. I think Eric Johnson in a bottom pairing is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, Thompson, Tuck, Cousins, Paterka, Olofsson, Zach Benson, a young guy. I mean, up front, I think you're probably. It depends how Thompson does in this year. But I think up front, you're at least middle of the pack, maybe above average in scoring. Some of it kind of, who are you? Is there a scratch I'm kind of missing here? No. But, I mean, maybe there's, Jack Quinn. What happened to him? He got, Achilles. Oof. Okay, never mind. But,
Oh,
no,
is he done?
I think
You're-
5 months. I don't know if, because cat friendly would be kind of weird. I'll have to kind of, hold on. Let me kind of, you talk for a second. I got to make sure.
All
it's,
right.
like, actually.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, Jack Quinn. Let's see.
Holy
Injury update,
schnitzel.
baby. Injury update, please. Let's see. Quinn underwent surgery for Achilles injury Wednesday. Will be sidelined for 6 months. He'll be at least out for the first month of the 23-24 season. Okay, so he'll be back. Looks like December.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's not bad. And he's
That,
a long
I
time
mean,
back. I
just
thought he was back already. That's why I was
yeah.
confused. I was like, did he injure it again? I was kind of like,
I mean, just play in or around 500 hockey. Get him back.
yeah,
Make a run. Get a nice 8-10 game consecutive point streaks. Not saying win streak, just points.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
nice little streak, 8-10 games, getting a point every game. And just
Yeah. I mean,
hang around because.
That's what they can do.
Yeah.
I mean that I just worry about the goaltending because like I think Devin Lee to expect a young 21-year-old kid to come at the NHL level and then be the workhorse that he's played 60 games. Like you need
That's a lot.
you need UPL or you need Eric Comrie to find a way to make a save and to play at least 30 games.
Yep.
At least 30. Like you need
Like-minded.
because you just need him to do that.
Yeah.
Headphone says, I can understand Marchand getting called for the cross-check. That's easy 4-on-4 penalty embellishment. I mean, yeah, but some refs usually, I mean, they can call that. I can get you, like, I get your frustration in that. I mean, do I think, like, Nyquist act like he got shot by a shotgun? Yes. But I think, like, little embellishment, like, he acted like Marchand just, like, stabbed him. But
Yeah.
I think I can understand why he did
Like
it.
you got hit by a Yugo.
Anthony says, for you guys who are better overall in your honest opinion, Captain America, your honest opinion, Captain America, Mike Modano or Alexander Ovechkin. Okay.
I have to go at Ovechkin.
Yeah, Ovechkin he's probably
more complete.
I liked Mike Modano though.
Modano was great too.
Yeah, I think it's weird, right? Because you know what separates Ovechkin to me in a lot of ways is he still scores 40 goals in like now. It's just
I'm gonna throw something at you that's gonna make you think a bit. So we're gonna keep Ovechkin, but we're gonna throw in Joe Sakic.
I think Ovechkin's a better goal scorer. I think Sakic is a better overall player.
Yeah.
That's hard.
I knew what made you think.
Because I love Ovechkin and younger in his career when he was like it's weird, right? If Ovechkin had Barry Trotz in his prime, I think multiple cups. I actually genuinely think that. I think Ovechkin didn't have anyone that's like, no. Let's roll, let's rein you in a bit.
Yeah.
Have you play more disciplined. Joe Sakic, I mean, what was it? The Quebec Nordiques, and then it goes to Colorado.
Yeah.
And people forget those Nordique teams were nasty.
Those Nordique, because you had Peter Stastny.
Yep.
You had now I'm going to show my age. You had a gentleman named Peter Zezel.
Yep, Peter Zezel. You guys were that was a stacked team.
That was a stupid stacked team.
Stupid stacked team. But and as for those two, I'd probably lean with Ovechkin, even though I do like Modano.
Yeah, I would have to take Ovechkin over Modano.
Who is the last player you guys that you can remember that won both the points trophy and the Rocker shot? Yeah, that would be McDavid, right? I think Headphones right with that.
I think so.
Yeah, I think McDavid just did that last year, right?
Yeah.
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 Right? Okay.
No. Austin Matthews. Or no.
No, hold on. No. Now we got to confirm this. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on. Now you're effing with my head.
Now I gotta see. All right, let's see. NHL last season. Goals. McDavid had 64 and most points, 153.
Yep. Okay.
Wait, did he say Conn Smythe though? Did he say Conn Smythe?
No, he said Rocket Richard and
Oh, okay. All right. I just want to make sure. Edward says Buffalo hasn't brought in a seasoned head coach with a winning history since firing Lindy Ruff. Yeah, I mean that's
he's not wrong.
That is a problem. That is a problem. I think coaching can be a little bit underappreciated at times because it just can. I think people think, oh, anybody can go back there. Now, listen, I think with the Oilers, I could look like an offensive genius with McDavid and Draisaitl if I'm just, sticking my thumb up my butt and just sitting there, just watching them play. But I do think coaching there's a lot of schemes, and some guys just aren't great at that, or not good motivators. Um, yeah, if I'm Buffalo, I am looking into a coach because
if
I
if
think unless there's
if
somebody
they're
there in Rochester that you think could
yeah,
come from the AHL and be NHL,
yeah,
that's the only
you
thing I could
know,
really think of.
I mean, I I I think Granado might be on a shorter leash than everybody thinks. If they only have, say, 8 or 10 points by let's say if they have 5 wins by Thanksgiving, 5 or 10 wins by Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think yeah,
I think they might be,
yeah, I could see.
looking for somebody.
I think they'll probably because I mean they're winning now. They want to try to win now. At least be competitive now, right?
Yeah.
Um, Anthony says Gretzky or Ovechkin. Gretzky.
Yeah.
That's like I think Ovechkin's a better goal scorer, but I think Gretzky's just a better overall player.
Yeah.
Um,
But he's not my number one. The Gretzky's not my number one. I take hell for this all the time.
was it Mario Lemieux?
No.
Who?
Messier.
What?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you so much shit. Messier? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm acting like he's a shit player, right? No, he's a Hall of
I
Famer.
know.
No, I'm playing.
And it's
I should
stupid
chill a
because,
bit there. I should
well,
chill a bit there. But
no, it's
really,
just, yeah. And one of the big things is it boils down to the guarantee. That's one of my big things. When he guaranteed Eastern Conference Game 6 against the Devils, which is still the '94 Eastern Conference Finals, greatest series ever. I don't care what anybody says. I will fight you.
I don't want to fight you. I know
He
what
made
you're
he
about.
made he made so they were down 3 games to 2. They were going back to New Jersey for Game
I remember
6.
that. Yeah.
He guaranteed the victory and then scores the fucking hat trick.
Yeah.
Guy's a
No,
goddamn man.
he went off. I mean, I still think Gretzky just because the point numbers are
Well, the point number,
ridiculous.
yeah, I can't deny that. But I mean,
Yeah,
I know Gretzky is just. It's like
I
Gretzky
know.
shouldn't be counted. It's like because he's just head and shoulders above everybody else. It's like, okay, we get it.
I
It's
I
like Jimi Hendrix and guitar players.
You know what's funny? Because a lot of people go with Mario Lemieux argument because of the points per game because his career was shortened. So there's actually
Yeah.
kind of a conversation you could have there. Well, if he wasn't
Oh, that's a
flopped,
big conversation
yeah. Like
because
I
I mean,
think,
he had cancer too, and he came back and just killed it.
yeah, no, he did. He played absolutely fantastic. Edward says Montreal would be competitive with St. Louis. As yeah, absolutely. I love Martin St. Louis, small king energy. You know what I mean? Short king energy. Coming in there with Montreal, and I think Montreal actually is going to be one of those teams that I'm not sure playoff this year, but they're going to be far better than they were last year because the last year they got so many injuries. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like they were playing with the
So
Laval Rockets at some
yeah,
points up at the NHL level. But some of those young
Slavkovsky.
players
What do you think
impressed.
about him?
I think kind of similar to how I thought about Lafreniere. I think it's going to take him a few years. I don't think he's ever going to probably justify that number one overall pick.
I
But
think you're right.
I do think there's a good chance of him being a good quality top six guy. That's kind of how I look at Lafreniere. Like I made a video recently, like, proving the data haters wrong. I just, obviously I'm putting that just to get a reaction from people. But I mean, like, because it's funny because some people freak out about it. But with Lafreniere, I liked what I saw in that first game. I kind of had to I was watching a little bit in between with the Bruins and stuff like that, like back and forth. I mainly was watching the Bruins. I usually watch games to rerun, so I had to kind of go back and see the game tonight. But like I think Lafreniere will be a quality top six guy. Now, how good will he be? I'm not sure. Hedel, Panarin, and him looked really good against Buffalo. I don't know how the game went tonight, but I think with Slavkovsky, it's going to be a time situation. I think at the very least he'll be a solid number two forward, second line forward. I just will he ever live up to that draft? No. I just and it's a little bit unfair because this is what I
Yeah.
hate. I don't blame the player. I just blame the the drafting, like the scouts, because it's like, well, I mean, if he's a little bit more kind of unrefined, why are you taking him? But I feel like because they felt his potential was a little bit higher. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very careful with how I judge young players because you'll see guys struggle at the NHL level for 3-4 years, right? Even flirt with possibly going back to the AHL. You've even seen guys go back to the AHL, come back, change their game, mature, grow into their body, become men, and then find success.
Yeah, and
And,
it's
and
like flipping a light switch.
yes, and that's
And
how it
then
is with some of these players.
and people wonder like where the hell was this before? You know?
Yeah,
And it's just not that easy though.
it's not easy at all. I think the problem that I have, and I think this, for example, with Seattle, I understood why they did it, where they had him on the team, then sent him down to a conditioning stint to Coachella Valley Firebirds. And I'm not the biggest fan of the CHL rules. So last year, that's what they did with Shane Wright, right? And now they're kind of giving him a shot at the NHL level, but he can now go play down the AHL. Some of these players just need to play at the minors for a couple of years, maybe 3, 4 years even, to
Yeah.
find their game. And there's nothing wrong with that. Players
No.
develop at different paces. Not everyone's going to come into the league and dominate straight out. That's just not how things work. I mean, we've
No.
seen tons of superstar level players having to take a few years. I mean, Brad Marchand, just the player I know, it took him a few years in Providence to figure out a role, and he was kind of a grindy player when he first came up, and then as he got older, he kept getting better, and that's kind of like the philosophy I have, and I think some people get annoyed with me because I don't like to do, oh, this prospect shit or this is it's like
Excuse me.
21, 22, 23. I think even 24, 25. It's like, let's see what they are.
Yeah.
Let's see what they become. Because when you're 18, you're 19, you're not a full grown ass man. An
No.
18, 19-year-old, even if they work out every single day, like hockey training, right? That 25-year-old in their prime is far stronger than them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's just years and years of work. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I'm I agree with you 1,000%. It's just, the kid may look, he's been beating up on kids in like the USL, United States Developmental League. That's
Right.
fine. That just means you're really good. But when you get to the next level, this is a whole other animal.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
mean, you could look absolutely just like, Jesus on skates, but then you might look like a bottom six guy when you actually get to the show.
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, yeah, I think like, throughout my hockey career, right? You're good at certain levels,
yeah,
and then it takes a little bit of time, and then it goes where it goes. And I think with some players, they just need a little bit of time.
yeah.
No, there's no shame in that. And I
Well,
think
and there's no set,
no,
schedule on anybody.
no.
Everybody's the guys are different. You know, one guy may just come out of the box just guns blazing like Timu Solane. I mean, just
Timo was insane. It's
yeah,
weird. He's kind of forgotten how good he was. I
he's
feel like.
unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just legitimately unreal.
Yeah.
I remember watching him and just being like, "Good God!"
Timo Solani, the helmet was iconic. The just the look, the
The
visor.
celebration.
Yeah, I love Timo Solani.
I
Even when he
love
was
Timu
older,
Solane too.
even in his older years, dude, he was producing like crazy.
Yeah, even when
Um,
he was even when he gave because it was about 10, 15 years ago now. We had him and Paul Correa. They gave Denver hometown. They gave Colorado hometown discount, so
yeah,
just so they could play together one more time. And
yeah,
they were still, God, getting it done. And I was just like, these old dudes are showing up. Guys like, remember Ryan Smith,
I
94?
do, I do remember Ryan Smith. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and
Um,
they were showing him up, and he was supposed to be the next great Canadian hope.
I think it's unfortunate with Korea what happened with him with the injuries, the
Oh
concussions and
yeah,
stuff like that. Um, he's a fantastic player. Anthony says, for me, when the Panthers were looking for a coach, I wanted to get Barry Trotz or Vinny Tortorella, because that's a limit what you can do. Because there's a limit what you can do with our current coach, Paul Maurice.
there's the limit with Tortorella too.
Yeah,
Tortorella's got a pretty
Tortorella,
short shelf
you
life,
can only have him like 3, 4 years, and then
five
like that,
tops.
yeah, like that. Then
He
it's
wears out
like,
his welcome.
yeah,
I mean,
okay,
but
okay. You know where out his welcome before he even got his feet set in was fucking Babcock. Oh my
yeah.
god, that was
Well,
short lived.
and well, I mean, you know what though? If you get Tortorella as your coach, you're gonna have great press conferences.
I mean that's true. That is true. He's very entertaining. He is very entertaining. How about the Russian Rocket or Ovechkin? I go with Ovi.
Oh,
It's sacrilegious, but I love me some
Beret.
Ovechkin.
I
Pavel Bure, it's just his fucking need. If Bure stayed healthy his whole career, you
uh-huh.
you have that conversation top 5, I believe.
Oh yeah. No,
I
because when I was still a Rangers fan in '94, I got to see him for 7 games, and that he is one of on a short list of about 5 dudes. Whenever he had the puck, I'm not gonna lie, Paulie, I was terrified.
Oh, dude, he was insane.
I
I
was I
remember,
was legit terrified.
dude. I remember when in Florida, even because even when he was like technically lost a step to some people, was still faster than pretty much everyone else,
Yeah.
and it was just
Well,
he was
you also
box office.
forget. I mean, the Buffalo fan will remember this because when they were Vancouver in that early to mid '90s, they had him and Alexander Mogilny.
Alexander was, oh yeah, I remember Alexander McGill.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was like Pavel
Miraj
Bure light.
Miroslav Shatan.
Oh, I love
Uh,
Miroslav Shaitan. Best
um,
best hockey name ever.
yeah. I used to live in Key West. We go to Florida Panthers glass seats for 40. That's not bad at all. Lundell to me is a miniature Barkov. They're not great at one skill, but they're jack of all trades. I mean, yeah, I think if he develops into like a diet version of Barkov, that's really good for you guys.
Yeah,
Let's see the NHL. Let's see the NHL continues expanding, and they add other teams in Texas and Houston and San Antonio. Do you think that pushes Dallas to the Eastern Conference? No,
it
I
pushed
think
Nashville to the Western Eastern Conference.
I think there's not going to be a new team. What's probably going to happen is Arizona will probably move to Houston. So they
Yeah,
stay in the Western Conference. The conference alignment doesn't get all fucked up. That's what makes most sense to me.
yeah.
I know people want a team back in Quebec City. I don't see that happening with the NHL. Um,
Well,
but go ahead.
they were one of the guys when I was listening to radio, because I have so much to do since I haven't been working for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
One of the guys was talking about the possibility of Phoenix going back to Atlanta. I was like, ugh.
I don't. So I got a little bit backlash on a video I made about the Atlanta Thrashers and how it's failed twice with the Atlanta Flames, the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah.
This is
Gonna
just my
work a
personal
third
opinion.
time? No.
So the Atlanta Gladiators over there do pretty decent. I think they didn't really market the team properly, and some of the ownership. When you look into it, the ownership failed that team. I think that team could have been viable. Maybe not a top 10 attendance team, but far better than they were. But Atlanta can be a difficult team, be a difficult market, and I believe you just go to a new one because I think for me it's failed twice. Maybe you
Yeah.
wait a bit longer. I think with the Yotes, you're probably better off going to Houston because of the population, and
Hmm.
there's a billionaire owner that's interested to get that team like right now,
Yeah.
and that's I think that's probably the best solution. Um, I feel like expanding too quickly is what do y'all think of the league expanding too quickly? I feel like they got to be careful because we don't want to spread the talent too thin and lower the quality of play. That is a legitimate worry. That is a
Yeah.
legitimate worry. You don't want to take you don't want to expand too much and too quick because then you're having AHL guys come up and yeah, I could see that. I think there's more talented players more than ever today. So I think maybe this gets me in hot water. I just prefer the 32 teams though.
Yeah.
I think it just makes sense. 16 and 16.
Yep.
The NHL isn't the NHL isn't the NFL. It's not the NBA. It's in the United States. It's my favorite sport. So don't take this the wrong way, but it's an expensive sport to play. So you do have a limited fan base in that regard until you expand it. Now, I made a video earlier today as well about Pat McAfee talking about hockey, and I think that's fantastic. Bringing more casuals into the sport. That's
Yeah.
big if the NHL wants to grow. But at the same time, I think for the NHL, before they even consider expanding another team, I understand why they brought the Kraken in because they were at 31. I think they need to grow the league as it currently
Yes.
is constructed. Colorado score.
Fucking finally pulled the goalie with a buck and a half left in the third.
What's the score now?
1-1.
1-1. Oh shit! I'm
Oh
missing
my
a good game.
god, dude! I've been shitting nails the whole time we've been on this podcast.
Who scored? Who scored?
The car.
Oh, Kale McCarr. I
All hell
love Kale
Kale.
McCarr. Yeah, man, bro, we appreciate you liking, man. We were gonna be doing a lot of these going forward weekly. I'd love to have Chief on. Even when he's working, because right now
Yeah.
he just got like surgery, so he's kind of
Woohoo, surgery.
recovering.
I'm on the
Um,
DL.
Anthony asks, "Is it if it wasn't for injuries, how great would have Valerie Bure been?"
I
Hmm.
don't. I think he'd be in the discussion with the guys that were solid, like the Newendikes,
Yeah,
maybe a Mott Sundin.
was
You
Bure
know,
was how fast was Valerie? Well, he was pretty fast
he
though
was pretty
too.
fast. He was
He
he
wasn't he
wasn't as
wasn't as
fast as
fast.
Pavel.
No, it wasn't as
Wasn't as
fast as
fast,
Bell.
but I mean,
Yeah.
pretty fast in his own right, though. I mean, fast enough to be a pain in the ass.
No, I remember because it was kind of cool because didn't they play on the same
They were on
team
Florida
in
together for a bit, weren't they?
Florida together. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were on Florida. Um,
Because I'm gonna really show my age because I think Ed Jovanovski was the defenseman who was supposed to be the next big defenseman and never panned
I,
out.
I mean, when you look at Valerie Bure, right, looking at his career, bringing up the stats, right. I like this. Man. This is fun. Just kind of going wherever. Um, Best year in his career, 82 games played, 35 goals, 40 assists for 75 points. I mean, that's a really good season.
That's solid.
Um, let's see. He just missed so many damn games.
Yeah, he got hurt a lot.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
It's
I don't
like
think.
you know about it, but then when you actually physically see it, it's different.
God,
He
yeah,
missed
I'm
a
looking at
lot
it
of
right now.
He missed a lot. Wow. Wow, that is a lot of games, and it's a shame. Done at 29.
Yeah,
What? I don't think he ever would have been to the caliber of his brother, but I do agree with you. I think he would have been kind of like in that discussion of being like one of the better players of his generation.
he'd have been in the Hall of pretty good.
621 games played, 174 goals, 226 assists, 400 points. Yeah, yeah. I mean, because like just in comparison, clicking on Pavel Bure, 702 games played, 437 goals, 342 assists, 779 points. Uh, you know, man, it just sucks with the Bure brothers. Just because Bure was done at 31 too.
Huh?
That sucks. That's
Yeah,
a
because I
shame.
remember his last 2
shame.
years with the Rangers, and everybody was just like, but by that time he was just so broken down.
It's just it's a shame because he was good. He was very, very fun. He was like a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy he made the Hall of Fame considering. Wow, I mean,
Well,
just the
he's over a
seasons he
point a
put up.
game.
No. I'm saying just like think about this. He has less than 1,000 points. He's over a point per game. He has less than 1,000 points. That's very rare to make the Hall of Fame like that because he was just so damn dominant when he played. That's
Well,
how good he was.
here's the thing, though. The guy that's in the same shoes as that is the aforementioned Peter Forsberg. He doesn't have 1,000 points.
I thought, does he have
No.
900 though?
He's got like 850, 900, right around there.
It's like fun talk. Oh, he had 885. I
Yeah.
thought it was 900. Yeah, he was
No.
close. I'm gonna round up. I mean, 708 games played, 885 points. I mean,
That's like 1.3, 1.4 points a game. That's ridiculous.
it is
But
ridiculous.
I mean, everybody like his scoring, yeah, but he did so much else though. Like he could skate, he could hit you. I mean,
He was good defensively.
he was all around. Now, all around player, would you rather have Peter Forsberg or Ovechkin?
Forsberg.
Yeah.
I think Forsberg. I think it's just I feel like with Alexander, Hall of Fame, greatest goal scorer of all time. But there are deficiencies in his game defensively at times. It's weird. Like I said, you get him the right coach throughout during his prime. Maybe we're having a completely different conversation.
Maybe he's already broken Gretzky's record.
I mean, that would be insane. Anthony says, you guys look at Brady and Matthew. Who plays more like Keith for me? I'd say Matthew, but you guys might disagree.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, I watched.
Brady's more kind of a yeah.
I watched Keith back in the '90s, and that man, oh God, He was a freaking animal.
He was an
When he
animal.
used to play for St. Louis, oh, dude.
I remember even didn't he have a stop in Arizona too?
Yeah, he did
Like
towards the end.
yeah, I remember that. Like
Yeah, I mean he was a dude. He was
a stud.
he was an animal.
I mean,
I mean, just a big old beast.
big old fucking beast. Um, I mean, and relatively productive even later in his career. I mean, it's the same point totals now, but he's a productive NHL player. But I mean, he had a
Yeah,
really good prime, really, really good prime. Um,
yeah. I didn't. I
yeah, no,
didn't.
because he was in Phoenix during his prime. That's right.
Yeah, because
Because
I mean, I hated him.
Winnipeg, then to Phoenix, then to St. Louis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I fucking
Then went to
hated
Atlanta.
him.
Went to Atlanta for a year. Hated it. Went back to St. Louis.
Well, and he was, and Keith Kachuk was one of those dudes that if he was on your team, God, you loved him. But if he was on the other team, oh my God, it was like, oh, God, we gotta
You
play him.
hated him.
Hated him.
Absolutely.
Hated him.
For me, the biggest what ifs in NHL draft history is the NHL allowed to draft Pittsburgh to draft Ovechkin in the previous years before he got drafted because he was eligible. I mean, yeah. Oh my God, imagine that. Imagine
Ovechkin and
Crosby,
Malkin.
Ovechkin,
Malkin.
Malkin. Oh my
I
God.
think they're better. I think you get. I think you can squeeze another cup out of that.
I mean, I don't know though. Crosby though.
You know I hate Cindy Crosby.
Yeah, but like, wait, no, but he's saying the year before, so you would still get Crosby. I'm
Oh,
assuming. So like, if that's what he's saying, right? Because for the me that what us allowed the Panthers to draft Ovechkin the previous year before he got the previous year before he got I mean, okay, just imagine Crosby feeding Ovechkin, and then Malkin on the second line.
well, I don't think they get Malkin then because they're instantly better and they're not going to get drafted as low. They'll be able to draft Malkin.
I'm saying if hypothetically like they still those players played well, but they still.
Oh
suck.
God, if your top line was Ovechkin, Malkin, and Crosby, Jesus, this is like those. Remember those little things where you pull the egg up and it's something smaller underneath?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Because the little one would be Crosby, the middle one would be Malkin, and the big one would be Ovechkin.
I can imagine that. That'd be fucking amazing.
Little penguin jerseys on all of them.
Forsberg or Kopitar. I'm going Forsberg. Yeah, Kopitar's a great player though.
Kopitar,
like he'll be a Hall of Famer too.
Yeah, Kopitar is. I don't mean to discount Kopitar, but Kopitar is Bergeron light.
Yeah, I think. Let's see. Let's actually kind of do that real quick. Oh, not Kirk, dumbass. Kopitar.
Yeah, do that.
Let's see. I mean, 1,293 games played, 1,142 points. Let me actually bring up the next one. We were comparing him to Forsberg, right? Yeah, Forsberg was over a point per game, so I don't even think that's a close comparison.
No.
I think Bergeron.
Because Bergeron has how many Selkies? 5?
Yeah, so like for me, you could argue offensively Kopitar is better than Bergeron. You actually could argue that.
Yeah.
In 1,293 games played, he has 1,142 points. Bergeron in 100, and this is like literally one game difference. 1,294 games played has 1,040 points. Now, I could argue, I think defensively he was better than Kopitar, but I still think Kopitar is a great defensive center.
Well, that was like the conversation we had. Remember, like, if there's no Kopitar, Bergeron wins 2 more Selkies. If there's no Bergeron, Kopitar wins 2, 3, maybe 4 more Selkies.
Yeah.
It's just we a lot of people don't realize this, but we have probably 2 of the best defensive forwards in the past 20 years in the same time.
The only thing that knocks Bergeron, and this is why I think his offensive numbers took a hit for a bit, is he was very defensive, and then as he got older, he got a little bit better.
Yeah.
He just couldn't stay healthy though.
That was the other thing.
He couldn't stay healthy, and I think if Bergeron was healthy, let's say he missed a season, but he had a couple more like full seasons, I think his offensive production would have been better because there's a lot of stop and go in Bergeron's career, and it's not his fault. It's just the physical style in which he played. And I'm not saying he was a bruiser. It's just he plays a defensive game and then like kind of getting into a rhythm. I mean, you could argue Kopitar's had a pretty solid, consistent games play
Yeah.
career. So like, I mean, I think that benefited him in a lot of ways. Um, I would have to compare their line mates too. I know Bergeron has had Marchand for a bit. Kopitar's had some good players as well. So I mean, I think they're
Dustin Kopitar's had Dustin Brown.
yeah, when he was good,
Um,
when he was
yeah.
good. So that would be an interesting comparison. I think Bergeron's a better player overall, but I don't think there's like a massive gap. I think they're actually
No,
relatively close.
I actually, now that you pull that up, it's
It's pretty
closer than I
close.
thought it would be.
Yeah, I think the defensive side of Bergeron's game. It's weird because I think Bergeron has the potential to be better than offensively than Kopitar because I watched him play so much, but um, I, I can't knock it. Like same games played, he has like over 100 more points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean I got to give it to him.
Yeah.
No, the Panthers are. Oh, yep. Let me clarify. Panthers drafted second that year. Crosby was drafted number 1 in the NHL. Didn't allow the Panthers to draft Ovechkin that year. They forced him to be a draft year. Oh yeah, sorry, we confused that. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. If Ovechkin was in Florida, that would have been kind of nuts. That would have been kind of nuts.
Yeah. That would have been kind of nuts.
I got one for you. Kopitar, Barkov, or Bergeron? I'm going Bergeron. I like Barkov. I think there's physical traits I really like from him. I think he's got insane hands. But
Yeah.
I feel like with maybe you guys have a different feeling with this, right? Barkov to me, I feel like there's so much more there. I think there's more potential there. I think Barkov could be far more than he is. And
Well, I
I don't know
concur.
if he's just I don't think if he's like he's taking a back seat. But I looked at Barkov, just like the talent and everything, and I'm like, okay, like this guy is like somebody that, you know, should be an absolute monster. And I feel,
Yeah.
and maybe I'm not being fair here because I feel like he took a backseat to Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
But I mean, I look at Barkov and I'm looking at a guy that should be like scoring, having multiple 100-point seasons because the skill is there. Now I know he's, 67 games, 68 with 88, 78. So maybe he was on pace, right? Highest points in the season was 96. And, he's still got a lot of hockey left. Right now, I would take Bergeron, but let's just say, hypothetically, let's just say he wins a couple Selkies and, he keeps having some dynamic offensive seasons. I mean, it's a pretty close race. I think it's kind of like Kopitar, Bergeron. You could actually have a good argument.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we have enough. We don't have enough of a book on Barkov.
Not yet. Not
to
yet.
have him
Completely.
to have him legitimately be in this conversation.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
has a
not like a
chance.
dick.
He has a chance, though.
Oh, he has 100% got a chance. I mean, we just got to see what he does, though.
Absolutely.
Fuck me going to a shootout. Sorry.
It's all good. Edward, who do y'all think's the most underrated head coach this season? Who do you think? Hold on. Let's try to find a list of NHL head coaches so we can kind of go down. Let's go down the list maybe. Let's see. Okay. All right, we're gonna do it's Wikipedia, so we'll yes, no, this looks update. Okay.
I
Most
mean, I don't.
underrated head coach, baby.
To me, they're underrated because you don't always hear about them. And please forgive my homerism, but one of them's Bednar.
You hated Bednar. That's funny.
That is, I did. No, you remember, I did hate him. I mean, the first season he was there, oh my God, he was awful. But you know what? I bought in.
I mean, if I'm gonna have to go with somebody,
My other choice
underrated.
was Brind'Amour.
Underrated.
I think Brind'Amour's underrated.
I think he gets his recognition though. That's why for me, I'm not sure if I'd have him in that. But he's underrated. If I'm gonna say a guy that's underrated, Peter Laviolette.
Yeah.
I think, and it's weird because he's one of the, that's such a, because even him, he's like one of the most winningest American head coaches of all time.
Yeah.
But I think like he was out of a job for a little bit. Went from the Islanders to the Rangers, and I think some
which
people
I
are
think is
sleeping on the Rangers.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's the first time in history that an
Yep.
Islanders head coach went to a New York Rangers head coach,
Yep.
which is insane.
Yeah.
Um, right after one another, or even actually throughout their whole careers.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So I mean, I would go with that. Head coaches I actually kind of like though. If we're just gonna go with that, I like Jim Montgomery. I think solid. I don't
Yeah.
like what he did in the playoffs though. I think Brindamore. I like Brindamore.
I like Brindamore a lot.
Bednar's I think solid. I'm not big on DeBoer.
I do not like DeBoer.
Paul Maurice is like an average, above average guy.
Paul Maurice is. I wish I could get a hold of Jordan right now because he would lose his shit over Paul Maurice.
Martin St. Louis. Martin St. Louis. I'm high on him. Because I think he's brought the best out of his players. I think he'll be a chance to be a really good coach. Lindy Ruff I think is solid. Peter Laviolette, Tortorella like with a 2 to 3 year gap. Yeah, he's fine. Anything other than that, your team will walk out on you.
Yeah. Miko, there you go.
And then honestly, I'm not big on Sheldon Keefe. I'm not sure yet.
No.
Mike Sullivan, he's solid for Pittsburgh. Bruce Cassidy, I thought was good for Boston.
Yeah.
I liked him. Won a cup last year. John Cooper, obviously.
Coop is. It's funny because like Coop and Bednar are like the mirror of each other in each Eastern Western Conference. They don't say a lot.
No.
But they just work.
I kind of like that though.
I do too.
I like that. I
like just winning the shootout, baby.
So I mean, yeah, I think there's some pretty solid. Who do you think's the worst head coach in the NHL?
Paul Maurice. No, Babcock.
He's not in the NHL. He didn't even get to play a game or like get behind the bench for a game.
Mika, hold on. I'm having dog issues here. Hold on.
No worries.
Hey, get your butt down.
See, that's why you gotta have dogs. That's why you gotta be careful with your dogs, bro.
Oh my god,
that's funny. If I was gonna say worst head coach in the NHL, can I just say Bednar to trigger you? No, it would probably be
6 years ago. Yes,
it would actually probably be Detroit's head coach.
Oh,
I'm not really high on him. I don't know. Maybe I'm not being fair to him too, because I mean, it's only been a year. I don't know. I think Detroit could do more, but they look pretty good thus far. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of being unfair. I'm trying to be reasonable here.
You're not. But you're shitting on somebody's riff. That's what I appreciate about you.
What's that?
You're pooping on somebody's riff, though. I appreciate.
Yeah.
I'm not real familiar with him, but I don't like him.
Craig Berube is up there.
Yes.
Craig Berube is up there for me.
Pretty good player. Not a very good coach.
Yeah, I would say that. Anthony says, I think Alex gets better if he leaves Florida because, to be honest, I think he would do well playing with a coach like Trott or Babcock who relies on physical play. And I hate seeing this as a Panther, as a Panther Street. I feel Alex because of the coaches we've had the past few seasons. I think your style and development has been stunted. Oh, Alexander. Yeah. So Barkov. Yeah, I think it's Barkov can get more. I do think he can get more. I don't know if Babcock would do anything besides ask for nudes off his phone. But now, mind you, I didn't make the big freak out of someone did at that phone stuff. I had like whatever. It's not that big of a deal. If I didn't want someone seeing my phone, it's like whatever. You're not seeing my phone. Like fuck off. But to be fair, some people don't have that mentality.
Yeah.
Edward says, love me some Torts. He's hilarious. My dad reffed him in the minors back in the day when he was a player coach. He said he was a nutcase back then too. Yeah, bro. I would love to. I wish they had cameras back then.
Oh God, I'd give up $20-$30 to go to that game.
Absolutely. Tortorella was a monster.
Oh,
He's so much fun. Torts is that guy that I do believe has Tortorella won a coach? As wait a minute, has
no,
Tortorella won a? No, he hasn't won a cup, right?
no, not to my knowledge.
I don't think so, right? Let me go to his thing, playing career, Boston, Mass. So he's obviously a good guy. Um, let's see. Did he? I want to
I
see. Did he actually win a
I
cup?
I think he got to the
Oh,
conference
he won.
final.
No, he did win one.
Oh, with Tampa.
With Tampa in 03-04. That's right. With Vinny LeCavalier and Martin
Yeah.
St. Louis. That's right. That's right. Yeah, I thought he won a cup.
God,
Yeah,
that's right. I'd forgotten about that.
that was such a while ago. Those were I love those old jerseys, by the way. I kind of like them more than the newer ones. I liked the old Tampa Bay jerseys. I thought those were sick. Um yeah, I mean he's been around the block though. New York,
Yeah, yeah.
Tampa. I think Tampa was the longest tenure, and then they're like, "We'll get out."
Rangers.
Rangers, Vancouver for one season. They said enough.
Yeah.
Columbus actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, how many years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I mean, Columbus. He was there for a bit. Maybe it's just more of like, I mean that's still moving a little bit, but I mean not as bad as I probably remembered. And in Philly, he's making those boys play.
Yeah.
I thought he won a cup in Tampa. It took me a second. Gretzky was an awful coach. I think with some players, um, I think with some players they're so great they just suck at coaching. I actually think they suck in upper management too. Like I mean, look at Michael Jordan with
Yeah.
Charlotte Hornets.
Well,
I
the
think it's
guy I
hard for.
wanted. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. The guy who I always wanted to see coach, and I'll bring him back, was I thought Messier would have been a great coach.
I agree. I think he had a good hockey mind. I'm not
Yeah.
saying Gretzky didn't. I just think Gretzky was so damn good. He's like, well, why can't you do this?
Yeah.
Like, why can't you do these shit?
Yeah.
And then,
Well,
yep, yeah.
and then Gretzky. I mean, Messier just give you that look. If you're skating towards the bench, you get that look, dude. I would feel like 2 inches tall. I'd want to go. I'd want to go hide in like Mongolia after getting that look.
Um, and he says that's why you don't see a lot of elite superstar quarterbacks becoming quarterbacks coaches because if they have arrogance about them, that they expect young players to be great right away. Yeah, I think there's actually a problem with a lot of
Yeah.
great athletes is that um, they can't effectively coach. Now there are some outliers that are really good coaches, like Hall of Fame, some of the goats that would be very solid. But it takes a special type of personality.
Yeah.
Um, it really does. I
Well,
mean,
it's funny because it's like in baseball. How many catchers become managers?
a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, Barry Bonds became a hitting coach, but he was so bad at it, like they just
Yeah.
the Marlins just made him
Kept trying
go
to hand
away.
him a needle. Oh no, we don't do that anymore.
You know what's so messed up? I know it's a baseball conversation for a second. Barry Bonds had a great swing. It was
Yeah.
fantastic. But dude, it's so funny, right? Because it's like if he just stayed clean and didn't hit as many home runs, he'd probably be considered one of the greatest of all time, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
wild. It's absolutely wild.
Well, because I remember now once again showing my age. I remember when it was him. He was on the Pirates with Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla Day. When is that coming up? Soon?
Yeah, I think the Mets are finally done paying him.
It's
He
just
he
insane.
signed like some 22-year contract where he gets like $1 million a year.
It was actually smart. He made more. He actually made more on
Oh
interest.
yeah,
Um, Anthony says when we drafted Spencer Knight the year he was drafted, the comparisons I've always had from his Plains, Belfour, or Quick. That's what. Oh wait a minute, that was multiple. Okay, the thought on the last comment about the pat. Okay, so I think with Knight he's like 21, so tons of years left in him. Like
yeah,
most goalies don't even reach the NHL until they're 24, 20. They don't hit their prime until 24, 25, and then if you're Tim Thomas, it's when you're 38.
yeah.
But like no, like, all
Timmy
seriousness,
Thomas.
it's Timmy Thomas. But no, I think there's some. I think he's a little bit less explosive than Quick, because Quick had insane reflexes. Now Quick was
Yeah,
so athletic, And I feel like to a detriment at times, he was so quick and athletic, he got away with some bad habits. And then as he got older, he's like, oh shit, I can't do what I used to do
Yeah,
athletically. I still think he'll be a good backup for the Rangers with Shesterkin because I think with less games played, he'll be a
Sturkin.
little bit more rested. Um, I think I think Quick. I think there's some good comparisons. Belfour, I think
He was sick.
Belfour played a different style though. That
Yeah,
that's the that's the hard compare. I think there's
yeah.
attributes there like good, quick glove. Eddie the
Eddie
Eagle.
Eagle was
Yeah, Eddie.
freaking
Eddie.
hated him.
I loved his masks though. The masks were always fucking clean.
Oh, the
The
mask was
masks are
tight.
always
His mask
clean.
game was always on point.
Absolutely, it was so much fun. I loved his mask. I think Spencer Knight. Yeah, I mean quickness. I don't think he's as explosive as Quick, but I think there's some definitely comparisons there, and I think he plays a little bit taller than Quick. I think Quick kind of like threw his body everywhere, if that makes it. Like he was technically sound, don't get me wrong, but like my man would like stretch the eagle, like tear his groin if I was trying that type of shit.
Yeah,
So I mean, it was just crazy. Um,
pull a
and
quad, do
pull a
something
quad,
weird.
break my whole back.
Yeah,
My favorite goalie of all time was the Dominator Dominic Hasek. Actually, Dominic Hasek I have rated as the best goaltender of all time. He's number one for me. He's better than
yeah.
Patrick Waugh, in my opinion. Uh, Better than Martin Brodeur, because what he did with
No defense.
no defense, but what he did, he dragged teams to Stanley Cups. He
Yeah,
dragged them. I mean, like the Sabres had no right to go how far as they did with a good, like a little of talent around him.
yeah.
Hasek was
Well, I
phenomenal.
mean, I mean, did they still, was that when they still had, did they have Pat LaFontaine? I think he was it.
Yeah, I think he was it. I mean, I think they had
Michael Pekka.
Pekka, and I mean he's a solid, middle six center.
Yeah.
They just didn't have much offensively, and like he was
No.
just insane. Now, would goalie coaches even allowed his play style today? No, but it was fun. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Some of the
I
shit he
mean,
would do, I'm like, what the fuck?
the man that had the slinky for a spine.
Um, I think like quite frankly, yeah, Dominic Hasek's so good. Anthony says, yeah, I noticed that Jonathan Cook was always hunched over as he was a tall guy, but he didn't use his height correctly. Yeah, that was just he was so used to using his explosiveness and just making otherworldly saves. I actually do think that kind of hurt him going on with some bad
Uh huh.
habits. I still, I mean, I think Quick's a Hall of Fame goalie. So,
Yeah.
Edward says, I've noticed a lot of commentators around the league, especially this year, sounding kind of bland. Where's the excitement on fun? Hockey is fun. Missing Rick. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate he passed away. He was a beauty. He was a long time Buffalo
Oh,
Sabres announcer.
he
He was
got.
great. He was great.
I
I,
mean,
lo- I
generations grew up with Rick Jeanneret.
Dude, he was so good. It's just I think you know what it is? I think in today's climate where people are so afraid to offend anybody else,
Uh huh.
uh, people contain themselves. I
Yeah.
do think that. I mean, except Jack Edwards. My boy Jack Edwards don't give a flying fuck. He'll fat shame the shit out of you. He don't give a shit. But no, it's
See.
I think announcers follow that copy and paste formula,
Yeah.
and it does get bland. I would agree with that. With some of the announcing does get bland in that regard because there's no actual unique individual personality, and that's the one thing I'll give Edwards. At times going to be a little bit much, yes, but you can definitely tell Jack Edwards is calling a game.
Yeah.
You're not going to ever get that confused.
I'm going to tell
Uh,
you who I miss more than anybody is Doc.
Doc, yeah, Doc
I
was
mean,
great.
Doc. So I was listening to this is probably about 6-7 years ago when Doc was still doing the playoffs.
Yeah.
This guy called up to the Dan Patrick show and sat there. He wasn't really apparently paying too much attention to the game. He noted every different adjective that Doc Emmerich used for moving the puck, or just adjectives within the game.
Yeah.
And he came up with 140 different adjectives.
Jesus. You know what? I gotta give him to him though. I think that's unique. It's like he makes sure he's like really trying to make it entertaining for the fans.
Yeah,
I
but I
mean
mean,
that.
it was just, I mean, and the whole thing was unbiased.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean he was good.
he was.
He
I
was.
mean, I mean, for me, he's the king.
I think the worst announcer I've ever heard in my life was Gord Kluzak. I hated him. When the Bruins had him, you remember Gord Kluzak? They drafted him really high, and he was supposed to be like the next big thing, the next big defenseman, and then he just sucked because of injuries. But he was such a pompous, full of himself, like thinking he's better than everybody.
Oh
Like,
God.
oh, I'm like, oh my god, bro, you were a bust at the NHL. And I mean, you still made the NHL, so maybe it should be fair. But just, God, it made me want to chomp on a cyanide pill. It's just every time when I grew up, I hated it. Me and my dad hated him calling games together. It was so funny. We would actually, what we did, we would like line it up with the radio broadcast on the TV, and we fucking did that. It was so much fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we just hated Kirk Kluzak. Um, Anthony says most underrated defenseman of the 2010s. Hmm.
Jeez. Why,
I
why are we coming up with these barn burner questions at like, well, for you, it's like 10 after 1 in the morning.
I respect it though. I love this actually. This
Yeah,
has
I do
been fun.
too.
This has actually been my most fun stream yet. Because I
Uh,
love the interaction. I think that's a hard one. Sergey
yeah.
Gonchar.
Yeah.
I well,
God, but he was, he was in the tail end though.
yeah, that's right. Because 2010s. I'm thinking like, I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. No. You're right. You're right. That's a fucking good question. That's
I'm
a
actually
really good
Googling that.
question. Uh, I think best defenseman in the 2010s. I'm really trying to think in my head like guys that because it's weird. I'm thinking of like for example
Well, I mean,
like
Eric Carlson's going
Zubov.
to come up.
What's that? What's that?
Everybody's going to come up with like Eric Carlson.
I don't think he's underrated though. I thought he got a lot of like
Yeah.
coverage.
Well, okay.
Um,
For me, because everybody would rant about Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook.
when he was good, he was good. Yeah. It
Because
just when he fell off, he fell off really hard.
oh yeah,
Really hard.
but I mean, he was. I mean, when he was good though, but everybody, the whole thing was everybody was like paying attention to Duncan Keith and not him.
So
I mean,
Anthony
that's
puts Petrangelo and
okay.
oh Ed puts Brian fucking Campbell.
Wow.
Red hair like me. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's a good selection. That's a good selection. Brian Campbell was actually good there for a minute. Really good.
Yeah.
And then I'm really trying to think of another guy. It's weird because I'm like I keep thinking of the bigger names. So I'm trying to think like of an underrated guy, a guy that kind of went underneath the radar. You know what? What about Ekman Larson in his prime?
Yeah.
I mean, like in his prime. I know he's, it looks like he'll do decent where he is now, but in a third pairing. But in his prime,
He was
is
good.
that fair to say?
Yeah.
Any defense partner with Zatano? Oh, Dennis Seidenberg.
Yeah.
Dennis Seidenberg was good.
He was
Dennis
good.
Seidenberg, yeah, he was pretty good. The Islanders had some good D men too over the years. I'm trying to think. I like this
I
question.
was just thinking the Islanders too.
I like this question a lot. Remember Yashin?
Yeah, Alexei Yashin.
I love that name. That's such a great hockey name. I know he's a forward. I'm just saying that was a great hockey name. One of the old timers. Let's see. Oh, Lindstrom. No, I mean no, that's not underrated.
Yeah, no, he's top 5. He's Mount Rushmore. We're gonna roll that back.
Oh no, I'm thinking of names at this point. Lindstrom, yeah, he's underrated. He wasn't appreciated. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that's a difficult one. Oh, who? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Dallas. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There was a pretty solid
Oh,
defenseman. Why am I blanking on it?
I know who you're talking about.
Oh, shit. I'm blanking on it. I'm blanking on it. Um, good defenseman in Dallas. Um, oh, how about the defenseman that played with? Oh, you mean in San Jose, Jumbo Joe? Uh, Joe Thornton, right? Talking about Joe Thornton. Um, oh shit, who did he? Who was their defense? Who was the? Oh, now I gotta go back. This gonna drive me crazy. All right, hold on. Now I gotta look at the rosters really quick. Dallas Stars roster. Well, let's do that. All right, hold on a second. I just want to gotta look at this. We're gonna go to roster. I love Hockey Reference because it's like amazing. Um, let's see. Trevor Daly was good there for a minute, but let's see. Trying to see. Maybe it's a little bit later. I don't know. I'm trying to think in my head now.
Oh, well, yeah, he wasn't much of the. He was more in the 2000s.
So let's go
Yeah, I
here.
was I was about to, I was trying to think of the guy for the Kings, but he was more in the
Yeah.
two thousands.
Rob Blake. Rob Blake.
No, Wisnowski, Lubomir
Visnovsky.
Wisnowski.
Visnovsky. I mean, let's see. Let's go to the Sharks. Actually, had a friggin' wagon there for a year. Oh no. Okay, there we go. Thought I messed up. Sharks had a wagon there for a bit. Sharks are one of those greatest what if teams.
Yeah,
They really are. They should have won a cup.
he should have.
They should have won a cup. Like there's no reason. There's no explanation why they didn't. Vlasic, the older Vlasic. Vlasic was really good. You remember him?
Yeah, I do.
Vlasic was good. Yeah, I mean, Vlasic was a real good player. And then Dan Boyle, 76. Holy shit, that's older. Yeah, that was a good. The Sharks had a good team there for years. They could never pull through though. It was weird. They just couldn't. They couldn't do it. Um, let's look in the later. Let's look in the later years. Who's here? Let's see here. DeMello, Dylan, he, Paul Martin, Joachim, Vlasic. Yeah, Vlasic would probably be up there for me defensively. Brett Burns. Brett Burns. Brett Burns was solid actually throughout the 2010s. But I mean, is he really underrated?
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
No. No, I don't feel like we're making it think too much. We're just having fun with it. We're just trying to have fun with it. Who's a player you think would have been a superstar if there weren't for injuries? That's a really good one too.
Where do I start?
There's a few players that you could make that
Like
actual
Beret. I mean, we've
comparison.
talked about two of them already, Beret and Forsberg.
Yeah, I mean, but Bure could be. I mean, he's still a Hall of Famer, so he's like. I mean, you could still make the argument. You actually probably you missed out a lot on him. Paul Correa.
Yeah.
Paul Correa for me, because like I think Paul Correa would have been way more than he was if it wasn't for the head injuries.
Yeah.
Then there's
Scott Stevens to be exact.
yeah, Scott Stevens would have been in a jail cell if he played today's age.
Yes.
Another guy that had some injuries that I thought could have been solid. Eric Lindros. Yeah, that's actually a good one, Anthony.
Yeah,
Eric
fuck him.
Lindros. he fun fact: my host here, Chief, he hates Eric Lindros. So it's funny.
That's why I was no longer a Ranger fan.
Sir Eric Lindros.
And I actually verbally accosted him at West Point.
Okay, wait. Boys, we're gonna do this actually because I've heard this story. So y'all listen. I'll answer this before we let you speak. Would you say Ryan Sutter's underrated? I mean, to a degree. I think he was very good for a while.
Shea Weber.
Shea Weber. I mean, but he was kind of in Norris conversations though, right? So is
Yeah.
he? Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think would have had more of a career. And then he says, "I'm biased." Tim Connolly. Oh, Tim Connolly was a good player.
He was pretty good.
Yeah. Why don't you? I'm gonna sit back, relax. you tell the folks here because I'm probably gonna clip this. Tell them your Eric Lindros story.
So it's the summer. It's like beginning of the 98-99 season, and I'm still dyed-in-the-wool Ranger fan. Just now that I had the Avs, they were my Western Conference team. So I go into work one day, and this old guy I worked with, Rich, he's like, "Hey, guess who's skating up at the rink?" Because they have, Army's got a Division I hockey team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Who?" He goes, I was like, "The Rangers?" He goes, "No, the Flyers." And I'm like, "Oh." And he goes, "Do you want to go watch them skate?" And I said, "Yeah." We just got to stop by my room. Stop by my room. I grab my Rangers jersey. So we get up there. They're in the last 10, 15 minutes of practice, and so they're going off the ice. And I make my way down to the plexiglass where they're going off, and I'm standing there in front of them in my Rangers jersey. And the minute Lindros walks by, so a bunch of those other cats walk by, and he's walking out with his two idiot buddies, Mikhail Renberg and John LeClaire. And I just look at him. I'm like, "Fuck you, Lindros. Fuck you and your severely concussed brother. I hope you never win a fucking cup." And I just start giving him the business. And he looks at me and goes, "You know what? Fuck you." And I was like, he goes, and he actually told me to come out to the parking lot. And I said, "Which one of me are you going to hit? You're going to see three of me, you mope." I go, "You had more concussions than I've had marriages. So you know what? You're not going to be able to find me, dude." And that's when Mikhail Renberg started chirping at me, and I didn't even know what the hell he was speaking. And I said, "Shut up or I'll revoke your green card." And then LeClaire comes up, and he's trying to pull both of them away, and we're just going at it. And then the guy I worked with, Rich, was just like trying to pull me away. And we're just yelling and screaming at each other. And he's just like, "Fuck." And Rich and as I'm walking away, Rich looks at me and goes, "What the fuck was that? What was that?" I was like, he goes, "If I'd known you'd have done that, we never would have come up." I said, "You think I was going to tell you I was going to do that? No." But I said, "This has officially become one of the greatest days of my life."
I'm sorry, that's just making me cry. I love that. Every time you fucking tell it, I'm just imagining you because you're a fucking big dude. Just you.
Yeah, I was ready to fight his ass.
Fuck you and your concussion-ridden brother. Who the fuck says that?
Well, you never won a cup.
Oh my god!
And then, quick fast forward. Like it was about 2-3 years later, the Rangers signed him, or they traded for him, or whatever. He was on the Rangers, and it was like I was working overnight, so at like all morning, I'd gotten home at like 5:30, 6 in the morning, go to bed. It's on a Saturday. And the gal I was dating at the time, she came in and she's like noon. She's like poking me. She's like, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, why?" She goes, "You've gotten like 24 phone calls, people asking you if you're all right." And I was like, "Yeah, what the hell?" So then it was like the phone rings and it's like, and she picks up. She goes, "It's for you. It's my cousin Mark." And I was like, "Yo, what's up, brother?" He goes, "Dude, have you heard?" I was like, "Heard what?" He goes, "Just turn on ESPN. Leave the phone on." So all of a sudden I look and ESPN just started doing that crawl thing. Yeah. And it just said, fucking Lindros is a member of the New York Rangers. And I'm like, "No, fuck. And so I called everybody back that was close, and I said at 3 p.m., just meet me at the house. I'll be burning both jerseys in the driveway.
Anthony asked, "Chief, did it go as far as you almost getting to the point where you almost had to got in a fist fight with Lindros?"
Yes. 100%. I'll go with him. Which one of me, dude? If I would have flicked him in the nose, he'd have got a concussion.
Yo. Oh Jesus! I mean, the funny part is because you're a big ass. Like, you're how tall are you? Like
6'3". At the time,
six,
I was still in pretty good shape. I was 6'3" and about 230. So it would have
six.
been it
You're a
wouldn't have been a mismatch.
big ass Native American, my friend. Jesus Christ, just want to beat the brakes on. Oh my God.
I was gonna. All I could think of was, dude, if I see him in the head in the parking lot, I'm headbutting him.
I just can't believe like, you got that pissed. That's so fucking comedy to me. That is so great. I think that's how we're gonna end the stream. That was like perfect
Sounds
way.
good. Yeah, Chiefs Comedy Hour. But
I mean,
tip your bartenders and waitresses, folks.
Ziggy Palfy was really good too. Ziggy Palfy was
Oh
good.
God, yes, he was. I forgot about him.
Joseph Stumple with him was pretty good.
Ooh,
Stumple was
yes.
good. I remember Stumple with Glenn Murray on the Bruins. They were filthy together. The one
God,
player
that's a name I haven't heard of.
actually would say would have been a superstar if it wasn't for injuries. Yep. And best, we'll actually end it on this. Best city to attend an NHL game.
Ooh.
I'm biased. I'm gonna go with Boston. There's a lot there. There's a lot right there, near there.
I'll tell you, the worst one to go to is New Jersey. Before they were in Newark, when they were at the old Brendan Byrne Arena or the Continental Airlines Arena out in the fucking swamp. For me, I'm gonna say Rangers game.
Rangers. I mean, yeah, that's a good
Garden.
one.
Oh, dude.
Garden's good.
Because I mean, if you've never been to the Garden, there is not a bad seat in that entire joint.
Yeah. I think you know where is kind of a weird one is and this is more of a minor league one. Portland, Maine, the Portland Pirates had like a weird rink. It wasn't bad,
Really.
it was just weird. It was weird. It's like one of those rinks I think that's been around for so long.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great. But that was pretty. Hey man, I had a fun time, man. I've been on here for a couple hours. I thought we'd go like a half hour, 45 minutes. We just started riffing. And you know,
can I tell you my weirdest before we split? My weirdest was the old Nassau County Mausoleum to see the New York Icelanders. Oh, really? That weirdest barn I have ever been in. It seemed like, you shouldn't be there for a hockey game, but for like, you're like a senior, like a high school science fair project, fucking convention or whatever. It did not seem like it was conducive to hockey in the least. It was just cavernous. It was weird.
So the worst ice rink I've ever played in, right? Well, actually, I'll ask you this, dude. What's the worst ice rink you ever played in?
I actually never played it on actual ice.
Oh, that's right. You played street, right?
I played floor hockey in Bosnia.
Right. Yeah, right. When you
so
were
yeah,
serving.
we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Third world country, lots of landmines.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't shoot the puck over the wall. You're never getting it back.
Watch out for the mines, right? We're trying to get a slap shot from the blue line.
Yeah, don't rip it over the wall, which was actually MRE boxes. So ghetto.
The worst rink I ever played for was West Warwick in Rhode Island. It was like, so near the Zamboni, like the ice was so bad, like people would actually blow out their knees by the Zamboni door.
Oh God.
It was so badly taken care of.
Oh God.
That was so, yeah, it was just sometimes you go in there, it was just thin ice there. So it was like kind of like sloped down, and that's why guys would twist and fucking destroy themselves.
Oh,
that was bad. And then for Mount St. Charles, when I played there, it was a fun ice arena, but they still had cages as glass. They didn't have glass, they had cages.
What?
Yeah, they had cages. It was like a historical thing, so they kept it up even when I was playing in high school. And it wasn't that long ago I was in high school. It was like, I graduated in 2009, so like when we played at Mount St. Charles, it would be like fucking cage. It'd be cages on the side. They'd have glass behind the boards, behind the goalie, but then all along the side would be all cages. So if you got hit, your jersey would actually like get like stuck sometimes. I'm dead serious.
What?
Like, yeah. So like, I remember this one time I went for a big hit. I destroyed this guy, over top. And then, like, my jersey got caught and it just, like, ripped right on the right shoulder. I was
what?
Like,
That's crazy.
It was crazy. I definitely got to get you pictures. I'll send you some pictures. Of,
dude, definitely do that. I got to see these. That's classic.
It was sick. This is the same. That team, I think, was a record one. 28, 29 championships, state championships in a row in hockey.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, the coach is a legend there. So like he got recognition by the NHL. But when I was there, that's when the dynasty kind of was changing and like more other teams won. But yeah, it was he had a ridiculous because he would just get kids from fucking Canada to come play in fucking his academy in Mount St. Charles. And like,
Oh,
and it was just like absolutely rigging the system. It was ridiculous.
that's
So
crazy.
Brian Boucher actually graduated from Mount St. Charles.
No way.
He's from Rhode Island though, so like yeah, he Brian Boucher went there. He won like 4 championships. So, and Boucher had a great career. That's why I followed him pretty heavily. So, um, but hey, everyone want to say big thank you coming in, Anthony, Edward, Headphone Dog, people that have kind of popped in and out. If you're watching this retroactively after the stream at the VOD or whatever the
I'm
fuck you want to
sorry.
call it, what's that?
I'm
What's that?
sorry.
Yeah. Well, we want to say a big thank you for coming out. We had a lot of fun. I'm gonna bring Chief back again. Maybe we'll bring Lindros on the stream as well, so we can duke it out for one final time.
Oh,
But
I'll
I think,
go.
but
We'll have the AARP heavyweight match.
but I appreciate you guys coming through. It was a lot of
Yeah, thank you
fun.
guys.
We're gonna kick this back again next week. Might be with Fajardo, might be with Chief. If Chief, if you're available, I'd love to have you on. Maybe we
Yeah,
can
dude,
get
I can
3
do that.
people. So, but we're the locker room. I'm Captain Paul. That's Chief, and we'll see you in
Peace
the
out,
next one.
Cub Scouts.
Peace.